The story begins with a boy named Bong Joo-hyuk. He is 25 years old and he has no real job. The guy works 3 part-time gigs just to keep himself alive. He is a cashier at a convenience store and a waiter at a barbecue restaurant, and he also does day labor on the side. Right now, he is walking home through his rough little neighborhood, and some drunk guys are spitting near his shoes and making fun of him. But our boy does not fight back. He never fights back. He just keeps walking with his tired eyes and goes back to his tiny rooftop apartment. Tonight it is ramen again for dinner. There is a reason he cannot save any money even though he works 3 jobs. The reason is debt. Even if he has to live like this, he still needs to pay it off. He tells himself that he has no special skills, and all he has is a body that still works. There is no future for a guy like him. This is the life of a loser, and he knows it. Then out of nowhere, a glowing system window just appears right in front of his face. The window says that Bong Joo-hyuk has awakened. The guy drops his chopsticks and starts freaking out. He cannot believe it. Him of all people? Awakened? Now here is the thing about awakenings. They are supposed to be a huge deal. It is rarer than winning the lottery, and it gives you a chance to completely turn your life around. However, the catch is that you actually have to survive to enjoy it. The tower is full of monsters that can tear you apart, and there are extreme environments that can freeze you or burn you to death. You can get poisoned or crushed by traps and all sorts of terrible things. And Bong Joo-hyuk is a coward. He avoids every single confrontation no matter what. He stays away from anything dangerous, and he has lived his whole life exactly like that. But apparently he is awakened now, and there is nothing he can do about it. He wonders if this is even real, or if maybe he is just so exhausted that he is seeing things. He steadies himself and calls out for the status window, and it actually shows up. His trait turns out to be summoning. The window shows his name and his affiliation as Black Tower Korea, and he is level 1 with 1 concurrent summon slot. His catalog is empty. He has trait skills for random summon and designated summon and unsummon. He also has general skills to enter the tower once per day and a tower-exclusive inventory. The system explains that awakened people get an ability called a trait. Traits can be all kinds of things like swordsmanship or spearmanship or archery or shield arts or martial arts or healing and so on. Summoning lets the summoner call on different categories of summoned beings like spirits and familiars and golems and demonic beasts. Our boy wonders what kind of summoner he is. He figures he might as well try it out. He calls out summon, but nothing happens. He tries random summon and still nothing. Then it hits him. Of course, skills never work outside the tower. A player's abilities only activate inside the tower, and outside he is just a regular person. Everyone knows that. He feels pretty stupid for even trying. There is no way a skill would work out here. Except the system window pops right back up. It says he has activated random summon. The guy cannot believe his eyes. A huge vortex of purple light bursts open across his apartment, and out of it steps a Western man with reddish-brown hair wearing dark combat gear. The man gives him a cheerful salute. Our boy's jaw drops. He starts panicking because he is not even inside the tower, so how did he summon anything? And on top of that, he did not get a normal spirit or golem. He summoned an actual human being. The man sniffs the air and asks about the ramen. He wants to know if he can have just 1 bite. Joo-hyuk is still stunned, but he nods and says sure. The guy slurps down a huge mouthful right away. Our boy thinks to himself that, of all things, he summoned a 1-bite mooch. Then the mooch starts complaining that the ramen is way too spicy and hot and figures they must have come out with some new spicy flavor. Joo-hyuk just stares at him. That is mild udon. This guy is a 1-bite mooch who cannot even handle mild udon. Anyway, he is completely lost. How did his skill activate outside the tower? And he has never heard of anyone summoning an actual human before. Another status window opens up. It explains that he can summon humans and demi-humans. Summons come in different tiers. R rank is rare and SR rank is super rare, and SSR rank is special super rare, and LSSR rank is legendary special super rare. The summoner and the summon can talk freely under any circumstance. The young man tilts his head. There are actual tiers to this? It really does feel like he is pulling characters in a gacha game. Then another window shows up. It says the summoned being must follow 3 principles. The first principle is that the summon must protect the summoner's life above everything else. The second principle is that the summon must absolutely obey the summoner's orders, and the third principle says that if the first two conflict, then the first one wins. Absolute obedience. He mumbles that it actually sounds pretty nice. So then why is this particular guy the one he got? Then a catalog window opens. It shows the name John Cossack. He is called the Mad Assassin of the Cruel Assassins Guild. His rarity is SR Super Rare, and his type is Assassin and Human. His manifestation duration is 6 hours. His satisfaction rating is empty. His resummon cooldown is 3 hours, and it starts once unsummon activates. The description says that Cossack is both the guild's greatest asset and their biggest headache at the same time. However, his mission success rate is 99%. He even managed to take down a 5th Circle Warlock. His end came from a single failure. Just then a rush of vivid memories floods into our boy's head. He sees Cossack jumping out of shadows and cutting off a target's head in one clean strike over and over again. He wonders if these are Cossack's memories from his past. Then he sees the really disturbing part. Cossack is sitting calmly next to 2 severed heads, and he is tying pretty red ribbons around them like they are gifts. Juhyuk blurts out that this guy is completely insane and he wants to know why Cossack is gift-wrapping severed heads, so that is why they call him the Mad Assassin. Cossack just smiles cheerfully and says that at least it is a gift. Then the young man sees one last vision. Cossack's final target was the Empire's strongest swordsmaster, and Cossack lost that fight. That is Cossack's last memory. Cossack's voice snaps him back to reality. He asks what Juhyuk is thinking about. Our boy jumps and starts sweating and stammers that he was just wondering if Cossack had any orders for him. He takes a breath and reminds himself that the system said the summon must absolutely obey his orders. He does not need to be scared. Time to test it. He tells Cossack to wash the ramen pot. Cossack does it right away. Then he tells him to wipe the table clean. Cossack gets that done too. The guy is lightning fast and he does not complain about anything. He really does everything he is told. Juhyuk starts feeling a bit bolder. He nervously asks Cossack if he would really obey absolutely any order at all, no matter what. Cossack tells him with total sincerity that he will obey any order from his summoner. So our boy leans in and tells him to bark like a dog. There is a long pause. Cossack's face goes completely serious. Juhyuk panics that he went too far because Cossack was a legendary assassin in his past life, and he must have a ton of pride. What if he suddenly snaps? But then Cossack starts barking. He barks like an actual dog with full commitment. Our boy gives him a shaky thumbs up. He really is absolutely obedient. Then somebody starts pounding on the front door. Cossack tilts his head in confusion. Someone is yelling for Juhyuk to open up. The young man's face falls. He forgot that today is the day he was supposed to pay the interest on his loan. He tells Cossack to hurry up and get ready. Here is the backstory. Juhyuk had to borrow 10 million won. Regular banks would not give him anything, so he had no choice but to go to a loan shark. His dad slipped on ice and fractured his hip and needed surgery. His youngest brother needed college tuition money. He had no other option. He thought he could pay it back quickly, but he has not even touched the principal. The interest alone is over 5 million won already. He knows it was a bad decision, but what else could he have done? Even if he could go back in time, he would still make the same choice. The pounding keeps going. The guy outside says he just wants to see Juhyuk's face and make sure he is doing okay. Juhyuk turns to Cossack. Cossack grins and offers to bring him that person's head. Juhyuk shuts that down immediately. He tells Cossack that no, he absolutely cannot do that, and this guy will cause a huge problem. He orders Cossack to hide in the bathroom and not move a muscle, and keep his mouth shut and not make a single sound. Cossack goes quiet and asks in a small voice if he is still allowed to breathe. Juhyuk tells him yes. Cossack lets out a big sigh of relief. Fee opens the door, and 3 debt collectors step inside. The lead guy looks him over and says that he looks fine actually, but the interest payment did not come through, so they were worried he might be sick or something. Juhyuk apologizes and says he forgot and shows them that he just sent the money. The collector gives him a nasty smirk and tells him not to push himself too hard. He says Juhyuk can always sell a kidney if things get bad. 1 kidney and all his problems go away. Then the collectors start talking about how Juhyuk has a younger brother and how the younger they are, the more money they are worth. Our boy's eyes fill with rage for just a second. The collector catches it and asks if he is looking for a fight. Ju-hyuk immediately drops his eyes and mumbles that no, he would not dare. The collector warns him to watch himself unless he wants to disappear without a trace. Once the collectors finally leave, Ju-hyuk lets out a huge breath like his entire soul just left his body. Kosik comes out of the bathroom quietly. Ju-hyuk tells him he did a really great job staying quiet in there. Kosik just says that he only did it because he was ordered to. The guy sinks down and he is completely drained. He worked a double shift today and then he awakened and summoned a human and got a visit from loan sharks. His head is spinning. He wonders about the debt and whether he should really try climbing the tower. Then all these terrifying images of monsters flash through his mind. No way. The money would be nice, but there is no chance a coward like him could survive in the tower. He asks Kosak what they should do now and offers to unsummon him if he wants to go back. But Kosak gets all excited and asks if he can watch some TV instead. He says it has been a while. Ju-hyuk has no idea how a summoned man from another world knows about TV and ramen, but whatever, he tells him to go ahead. Kosak thanks him and plops down in front of the screen completely glued to it. He starts gasping about drama plot twists and yelling about revenge and screaming about 1,000 million. Our boy watches him from the mattress and he feels something almost warm inside. Even if Kosak is a summoned being, it is not so bad having someone else around. It is almost comforting. Until now, he has been working himself to death all alone. This is nice. And with that thought, he drifts off to sleep. Somewhere in his half-dreams, a soft system chime plays. The system says that John Kosak has been unsummoned. He barely notices it. Then his alarm goes off. It is 8 in the morning. He groans and sits up. Kosak must have been auto-unsummoned because the duration was 6 hours. There was a time limit. He vaguely remembers seeing the system window while he was sleeping. Anyway, forget the awakening and everything else. He needs to get ready for work. He starts brushing his teeth in front of the TV. Then the morning news catches his attention. The anchor says they have breaking news. Earlier this morning in Gyeongro-gu, Seoul, at an office of the illegal private lending company Smile Cash, there was an incident. Ju-hyuk freezes mid-brush. Smile Cash is the exact place he borrowed money from. The news says there are 3 victims in total and all 3 were decapitated. But the truly shocking part is that the victims' heads were found decorated with red ribbons. His blood goes cold. It has to be John Kosak, and right there on the screen is the man himself looking cheerful and completely unbothered. Ju-hyuk grabs his head and starts screaming inside. Comforting? What was he thinking? He did not summon a companion, he summoned a psychopathic killer. Our boy Bong Ju-hyuk cannot get the Smile Cash murder case out of his head. The news coverage keeps replaying over and over. The bloody floor and the severed hand still wearing 3 gold rings and the 3 masked men who never made it home. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees John Kosak instead. He keeps muttering to himself that he is so screwed. He is so completely screwed. He looks at the images one more time and becomes certain that the killer is definitely Kosak. An old lady taps at the counter and asks him nicely to ring up her groceries. For one horrible second, his mind swaps her face for Kosak's grinning, blood-covered face, complete with a bright red ribbon tied around the head. The guy chokes out a shocked sound. When his vision clears, the old woman is just standing there looking confused with little hearts and cat drawings hovering around her. She wants to know if he is planning to serve her at any point. Ju-hyuk screams like a startled animal and stumbles backward and knocks half the counter stuff to the floor. A coworker rushes over and asks if he is okay. He stammers out an apology and promises to ring her up right away. His manager tells him she cannot work like this, and the weight of another lost shift settles on him. He announces that he needs a day off from all his jobs tomorrow. He walks home under the gray sky and guilt eats at him. He wonders if those 3 men died because of him. The night gets deeper and back in his room he opens the summon catalog. The window confirms everything he was afraid of. Kosak is listed as the mad assassin of the Cruel Guild, and he is an SR super rare human-type summon. His manifestation limit is 6 hours, and his Resumon cooldown is 3 hours. There is a satisfaction rating slot, and it is empty. He really was a mad assassin. Ju-hyuk tells himself that since he is the summoner, Kosak will never hurt him, but even that thought is only a little bit comforting. He takes a deep breath and calls the designated summon. However, a system window pops up first and asks him to leave a satisfaction rating. 5 empty stars float in the air. The young man realizes, with a small tired laugh, that this is what the catalog slot was for. His first instinct is to give 1 star. The guy went and murdered 3 people while Juyuk was just sitting there watching TV. Our boy remembers that his mother used to work as a coordinator for a water purifier rental company, and he knows too well how a low rating can crush a person. 1 star for being such a pain in the ass. Then he hesitates. Even when he is unhappy, he never gives 1 star. This is a wimp's guide to star ratings. He taps 3. Kosak appears in a burst of light, and he is cheerful as ever. He thanks Joohyuk warmly for the 3 stars and promises to work even harder. Joohyuk stares at that innocent sparkling smile and wonders how someone this bright could have killed 3 men in one night. He tries to sound casual and tells Kosak to speak freely. Then he asks if the men who came to his apartment yesterday were the ones Kosak took care of. Kosak confirms it without even blinking. He says he handled it last night. Joohyuk's stomach drops. The person standing in front of him truly is a murderer. His heart pounds and he feels sick, but he forces himself to breathe. Kosak will not hurt him. At least there is that. He presses further and asks how Kosak even found the office. Kosak explains that he planted something called a tracker's mark on those guys the moment they barged into his summoner's home. He calls it a skill and treats it like it is just ordinary work. Joohyuk asks why he went that far. Kosak answers plainly that they were a threat, and threats are best eliminated in advance. Joohyuk protests that he never ordered any killing. Kosak cheerfully explains the 3rd clause of the 3 principles of the summoned, and a system window lays them out. First, the summon must protect the summoner's life above all else. Second, the summon must absolutely obey the summoner's orders. Third, if the first 2 ever conflict, the first one always wins. Kosak sums it up as absolute obedience with a life-saving exception. The young man tests the logic and asks if Kosak would disobey an order to kill him. Kosak answers with a firm, cheerful nope. Then comes the real problem. Joohyuk points out that there was no actual threat and that Kosak made the call on his own. Kosak agrees that the 3rd clause can be interpreted many ways. He says with pride that from his perspective those men would have endangered his summoner eventually, so the judgment was perfectly reasonable. Joohyuk blurts out that this is completely psychotic. Kosak apologizes softly. Our boy waves it off and tells him it is fine and that he hears that a lot. The scariest part is what all of this means going forward. He imagines walking down a crowded street with Kosak and accidentally bumping shoulders with some random punk. The punk would probably threaten to gouge his eyes out. That kind of empty tough guy line gets thrown around 100 times a day and most people never mean it. But depending on how Kosak chooses to read it, a red ribbon might be waiting for that stranger by nightfall. Joohyuk pictures Kosak humming happily as he decorates the body. A ribbon for this and a ribbon for that. Kosak senses his summoner's discomfort and immediately drops to his knees and apologizes. Joohyuk waves him back up and tries to lay down a rule as calmly as he can. He explains that murdering people does not help him and could actually land him in a lot of trouble. Kosak whispers that no one will ever know. Joohyuk asks him to promise he will not do it again. Kosak answers honestly that he cannot promise that. Joohyuk insists and tells him not to kill people over mere suspicion unless there is literally a knife at his throat. Kosak snaps into a sharp salute and vows to use his best judgment. Our boy sighs internally because Kosak is being deeply evasive, but he tells him he can go now. However, before disappearing, Kosak asks casually whether his summoner has ever considered climbing the tower. That word hits Joohyuk hard. He knows climbing the tower is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but the shrieking green monster he pictures crawling along the walls tells him everything he needs to feel. He is scared. It is dangerous and he could die. He asks if there were other summoners like him and other people who once summoned Kosak. Kosak tells him there were, and that they were very strong and very brave. The guy lowers his head and he feels ashamed. He knows some people use their awakened abilities to save the world. He does not have the courage to risk his life like that. Kosak explains that a summoner's greatest virtue is safety first, of course. Bravery is poison, he says. A brave summoner is a dangerous summoner because you never know when they might die. And if the summoner dies, the summon cannot come outside anymore. Kosak promises to handle every dirty job himself and tells his summoner to simply lay low and live a long, long life. Ju-yuk cannot sleep that night. He turns the tower question over in his head again and again. In the morning, he stares at himself in the mirror and sighs that people like him have no business climbing the tower. He should just be grateful his debt disappeared along with the debt collectors and move on. He will work a safe, normal job. If he works hard enough, everything will get better. Everything. Then his phone rings. His father answers cheerfully from rehab, but the news is bad. The hospital wants him transferred to a bigger facility and his mother has been fired. His father tells him not to worry and that things are fine. Ju-yuk promises to visit soon and share a meal, and then he ends the call. He stands alone on the sidewalk in silence. Reality hits him. He puts on full safety manager gear with a hard hat and reflective vest and warning sign. He tells himself he will just peek at the first floor and duck right back out. If it looks dangerous, he can leave immediately. He took the day off anyway. First he needs to summon. Then he stops himself. He does not have to stick with that psycho Cossack. He can try summoning someone else and maybe even pull a legendary special super rare. The system politely destroys that dream. Random summon is not available. The cooldown is 20 days, 11 hours, 8 minutes and change. A whole month. So in the end, Cossack appears anyway, cheerful as ever, and thanking him for the 5 stars. Ju-hyu plays it cool and hopes Cossack has no idea what he just tried to do. He greets him and then announces he has decided to enter the tower. Cossack claps in delight and praises his bravery. Ju-yuk immediately walks that back and clarifies that they are only going to get a taste and leave. Cossack agrees and says it is a wise decision. He tells Ju-yuk to throw away the crude safety gear and promises that once they are inside, he will personally guide him and make sure he is comfortable the entire time. Ju-yuk will not have to lift a single finger. A system window asks if he wishes to enter Korea's Black Tower and confirms that the currently accessible floor is floor 1. Cossack cheerfully asks if they shall go. Our boy squeaks out a yap. The window announces that they are entering floor 1 of Korea's Black Tower and blue light swallows them both. Then in the last moment before the world disappears, Cossack's confident smile cracks wide open. He shouts for Ju-hyu to wait a second. Our boy has just one moment to realize that something is very wrong before his terrified scream tears through the light. Our boy Bong Ju-yuk is falling. Blue light rushes past him and streams of glowing code wrap around his body and every part of him is certain he is about to die. He shrieks the whole way down. Cossack tumbles somewhere in the same current of light and he looks calm compared to the flailing guy beside him. Then with a soft thump the fall ends. They land on cracked earth under a sickly sky. Ju-yuk pushes himself up in his hard hat and reflective vest and stares at the barren rock. He mutters that this is really inside the Black Tower. The first floor turns out to be a complete wasteland with dead trees and gray dust and a horizon that looks like it forgot how to be alive. His stomach turns on him right away. He drops to his knees and throws up hard and groans through the whole thing. Cossack pats his back and cheerfully tells him he will get used to it soon enough. Then he waves Ju-yuk forward and offers to lead him past the safe zone. 2 system windows chime in. His physical abilities have been enhanced to match his level and his traits and combat skills are now available. The young man flexes his fingers and stares at his own hand. So this is what it feels like to be a player. Even at level 1, he feels surprisingly strong. Another window opens with his first floor mission. He has to eliminate 5 tough-skinned fat maggots within 2 hours or he fails on death or abandonment. He spots the creatures in the distance and they are huge lumpy things crawling slowly across the rocks. Cossack launches into a helpful little lecture about how the first floor exists to test a player's skills. He explains that these particular maggots are basically scarecrows that deal almost no damage but their skin is really tough. Some players need a full 30 minutes just to bring down one. Ju-yuk clenches his fist. He is also a player now and he wants to try. He announces that he will take the first one down himself. Cossack looks confused and asks why on earth he would go through all that trouble. Our boy walks up and decides he needs a weapon. He briefly considers borrowing Cossack's blade, but then he spots a massive boulder instead. He grits his teeth and hauls it up over his head and slams it straight down onto the maggot with everything he has. The dust settles. The maggot is fine. The guy stands there drenched in sweat and panting and staring at the very much alive creature. After one long silent moment, he raises a shaking hand toward Kosak and quietly calls out for help. Kosak strikes a proud little pose and salutes him for making a wise decision. Then he moves. In one clean leap, he clears the distance and flashes his blade through the closest maggot and lands with a burst of blue force spiraling around him. He calls for his summoner to stand back. A huge wave of icy blade energy erupts from him and rips across the wasteland. The rest of the maggots come apart in one shining pulse. Kosak calls the technique Blade Burst. Juhyuk stares with his jaw hanging open. He gasps that Kosak killed them all in an instant. The system windows come rolling in one after another. He has completed the first floor's mission. He has leveled up. The reward is 100 grams of mana stone. Then a bigger announcement lands. He has achieved S++ rank on the first floor of Korea's Black Tower, and as an S++ clear reward, he gets a platinum badge. The young man throws his arms wide and spins around like an excited kid. He starts shouting that this is way too easy, and at this rate, he is going to be rich. The loser Bong Joo-hyuk has no idea yet, but at that very moment, every single player across Korea sees the same announcement pop up in front of them. A man leans in over a bright display and goes very quiet. Windows light up all over the country. Then a final message appears for our boy. He may now challenge the second floor. He has exited the Black Tower. Blue light drops him back into the hallway of his own home like nothing happened. Back in his kitchen, he tears into a burger. He notes that the whole run only took 5 minutes. Kosak tells him from across the room that it was a job well done. Juhyuk shrugs and admits that he just stood there and did nothing. Kosak replies that this is exactly what he ought to do. Juhyuk mentions that he had always heard players are supposed to grind monsters until they collapse, and that clearing floors takes forever. But this run was almost embarrassingly easy. He pulls out the reward. A small blue crystal floats up between them. He realizes it is a mana stone, and it is the first one he has ever seen up close. Mana stones are an important resource in modern industry, and their price has fallen a lot since the tower first appeared. These days, 100 grams runs about 50,000 won. Most people know the basics about the tower by now. But then there is the platinum badge. He stares at the ornate emblem floating over his palm. He has never heard of one before. He decides not to worry about it. He just made 50,000 won in 3 minutes, and now he can go watch dramas. He calls Kosak over to eat. The table is covered in bulgogi and side dishes, and steam is rising off the plates. Kosak sniffs hard and then sniffs again, and his eyes narrow suspiciously. He wants to know if the food is hot joksal. Juhyuk quickly explains that he ordered regular joksal because Kosak said he cannot eat spicy food. Kosak keeps sniffing and insists he still smells something spicy. He really is tragically bad with anything hot. Once he is reassured, Kosak claps his hands and says it is time to dig in. He thanks his summoner again for being so kind. Juhyuk tells him there is no need to be so formal. Kosak slurps enthusiastically. Our boy squints and points out that his summon keeps using words like I and thy. He asks if that is how Kosak usually talks. Kosak asks what he could possibly mean by that. Juhyuk gently teases the old-fashioned vocabulary. Kosak explains that he spent a lot of time with his previous summoner and picked it up from them. Juhyuk pauses inside his own head with a small mischievous smile. He wonders if this is the sort of thing that happens when a former boyfriend rubs off on someone. Or in Kosak's case, it would be the influence of his former summoner. Kosak offers to stop if the language bothers him. Juhyuk tells him not to change a thing because it just gets funnier the more he hears it. Kosak laughs a delighted giggly laugh. By the end of the meal, Juhyuk is sure of one thing. Kosak is not dangerous at all. Or more accurately, the guy is like a walking construction zone. He needs a hard hat and a little caution, but ultimately it is doable. Juhyuk sits back with quiet resolve. This is doable. The next morning, our boy stares at a colorful pie chart taped to the wall. It is labeled A Real Man's Daily Routine. He decides to quit being a day laborer for good. Convenience store during the day and the charcoal barbecue spot at night, and in between he comes home to climb the tower with John Kosak. He calls it a flawless plan. The plan works. He rates Kosak a perfect 5 stars after another job, and the summon practically glows with joy. Kosak says he wishes he could give his summoner a 10 out of 10. The guy asks casually if the satisfaction rating is really that important. Kosak explains that the better the rating, the more benefits both of them get. The summon's manifestation time and even his rank can climb, and the summoner naturally gets more calls. The second floor mission starts. This time it is 10 nimble fat maggots, and these ones actually move. They are quicker than Juhyuk expected. He nervously suggests that going all out might be dangerous. Kosak grins and vows that dying is not going to happen. He says he will wrap this up in 3 minutes tops. He tells Juhyuk to sit tight while he finishes fast so they can head home. Juhyuk cheers happily and asks if they should get chicken tonight and beer too. Kosak thanks him warmly and unleashes his blade energy across the second floor. The nimble maggots come apart in a spray of light. The rewards pour in. Second floor cleared and level up, and 200 grams of mana stone, and another S++ rank, and another platinum badge. Juhyuk breathes out that this is insane. This is just insane. This is way too fast. He can pop in and clear a floor before his morning shift. The third floor mission drops with 5 ice-bloated grubworms, and Kosak teases that his summoner's landing was a little slow. They keep going. The third floor clears with another level up and 300 grams of mana stone, and another S++ rank, and another platinum badge. The fourth floor's mission falls. The fifth floor's mission falls. Then a bigger announcement drops than anything he has seen so far. He has accumulated 5 S++ grade platinum badges. He has been awarded a perk for the achievement. Juhyuk's eyes go wide as he mouths the word perk. The window explains itself. Awakening trait enhancement. The perk's effect increases the number of the player's simultaneous summons to 2. Our boy Bong Juhyuk pulls up his player status window and stares at it. His name is Bong Juhyuk and his affiliation is Black Tower, Korea. He is level 6 and his trait is summoning with concurrent summons set to 2. His catalog is empty. His trait skills are designated summon and random summon and tower exclusive inventory. His general skill lets him enter the tower once a day. Combat skills are none. He lets out a quiet O as the concurrent summons number registers. 2. That means he can now bring another one along with him. Not that he actually needs one, since John Kosak already handles every floor solo just fine, and the S++ clear rewards are the best, he happily reminds himself. Then reality tempers his excitement a little. Seeing as how the whole tower business could turn into a long-term battle, it will be way safer to have a backup. However, his random summon skill is still on a cooldown of more than 20 days. So the plan for now is simple. Just survive carefully until then. He starts running through the imagined future in his head. In 20 days, the 3 of them together will clear floors, and then he immediately imagines Kosak refusing to slack off while the other 2 do the work without him. He shakes off the daydream. Tomorrow they will climb the 6th floor. Kosak cheerfully agrees and says they should keep climbing. Meanwhile, across the city in Hanamdong, Seoul, the Korean Awakening Management Department is having a very tense morning. 2 staffers murmur about when to post today's announcement. They go back and forth about morning or evening or late at night. Then a young woman leans in close to her superior and softly asks if he is thinking about the announcement. She is quietly reading his mind without permission. Team leader Jun Kwang-il jerks back with a startled reaction. He snaps at her that he has told her again and again to stop prying into people's heads. Manager Lee Mi-na murmurs an apology and admits she just could not help being curious. John then asks if today's announcement has been posted. A subordinate confirms that yes, it is an S++ rank clear on the 6th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. John's face darkens. The office turns its full attention to the tower itself. Announcement after announcement has been dropping in the same pattern lately, and each one is an unbelievable S++ clear. John knows it can only be the work of a single person. Whoever this is has been clearing every floor in order straight up from the first. Unprecedented, incredible talent. If they clear the 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th floors and every single one of them is S++, then they are dealing with something truly special. A palm slams on a desk. Director Park Kyung-soo leans forward. He tells his team that the highest rank ever recorded in Korea before this used to be A. They only just learned that ranks beyond that even existed and that full public announcements are triggered when an S++ is achieved. Player migration between countries has become common. Quiet kidnappings are already happening. Before Korea risks losing this awakened prodigy to another nation, they need to find this player right now. He orders his team to closely monitor every single new player who is officially registered. 2 days later, our boy is back to his routine. Kosak asks if they are climbing the 8th floor today, and Joyuk confirms with a smile. 1 floor a day without any real difficulty. Not really surprising, he reminds himself, since floors 1 through 10 are the beginner zone. Everything is going smoothly. They step into a misty green forest, and the system opens their 8th floor mission. They have to defeat 10 red thorn frog warriors. Big spear-wielding frog creatures pounce at them. Kosak's blue blade energy sweeps across the clearing, and it ends before Juyuk has finished blinking. The rewards roll in: floor complete, level up. The reward is 800 grams of mana stone. He also gets a tower-exclusive healing potion grade S, another S++ rank, another platinum badge. Kosak cheerfully declares another day and another floor cleared. Juyuk shrugs and admits he did not really do anything again. Kosak insists that just entering the tower is already the hardest part. Then he turns a bit bashful and says that, thanks to Juyuk, they always clear the tower this easily. The young man waves that off and reminds them both they cannot let their guards down. He has heard the floors after 10 are not to be taken lightly. Still, they cleared this one in 3 minutes flat, so he decides Kosak has earned a reward for his hard work. He presses some pocket money into his summon's hand and tells him to go out and get something tasty, and please not to cause any trouble. Kosak refuses. He says nope, and that he cannot leave Johyuk's side. He will just watch TV at home. He notes to himself, a bit puzzled, that his principle of absolute obedience apparently does not apply to leaving his summoner unsupervised. Johyuk shrugs and asks if they should just order chicken then. Kosak is instantly wearing a full chicken costume hoodie, and he cheerfully declares this a wonderful plan. He announces that he shall order something delicious. He rambles about honey cheese butter sweet something or other, and Johyuk simply agrees with a soft all right. The new reward is a tower-exclusive healing potion, and it glows in his hand. Johyuk decides he should probably give this to Kosak. Then his gaze drifts to the pile of blue crystals stacking up in his inventory. 3.6 kilograms of mana stones already, and that is about 1.8 million won if he sells them off. He should probably start thinking about cashing these in. It is day 10 of climbing the Black Tower, and they are about to raid the 10th floor. Our boy narrates his own story to himself in his little apartment. He originally thought he would just be dipping his toes into the tower, but somehow they have been diligently clearing a floor a day. Even yesterday, the 9th floor's jungle cannibal corpse flower was a breeze. Well, sorry, not so much for him, Kosak quips. Clearing the floor is a given, and the S++ clear reward is just a bonus. Johyuk grins and then puts on a little tuxedo act where he plays an MC at a black tie ceremony and raises an imaginary champagne flute. How reassuring, he says. A toast to Kosak's skills. He has already completely forgotten that this beaming assassin murdered 3 people in one night. He calls the designated summon and hands Kosak his 5th perfect 5-star rating in a row. The system chimes back with news. Due to the continuous accumulation of maximum scores, John Kosak's devotion time is increased by an hour. Johyuk lets out a delighted "oh." It really is worth handing him the highest score. Kosak thanks him warmly and confirms he can now serve his summoner for another hour. He promises Johyuk can only trust him. Kosak thanks him warmly and confirms he can now serve his summoner for another hour. He promises Johyuk can only trust him. Overflowing power and mysterious magic pooling somewhere in his lower abdomen. His brain, in classic wimp fashion, jumps straight to the wrong conclusion. Has he Bong Johyuk become an untamable wild horse? He turns to Kosak and, with his mane flapping in his imagination, announces that from now on he is going to help too. Kosak goes pale. He says that if by any chance his summoner picks up even a scratch, he will have to kill himself on principle. Johyuk waves it off and insists he is already a wild horse. Kosak pleads that his cheers and praise are enough, but our boy insists that this time he absolutely has to help. Then his eyes catch on something behind Kosak. A giant green praying mantis that is easily larger than a man hunches over them with fangs glinting. Johyuk stares at it. That is a 10th floor monster? He can only wonder how any other player has ever caught something like that. Kosak coughs and admits with a slightly bruised air that having both of them go after bugs like this feels a little demeaning to human pride. The guy asks in confusion why his pride would even be involved. Kosak insists that his own pride is very much hurt, so Ju-hyuk just shrugs and cheers his summon on from the sidelines. Kosak leaps, in 3 heartbeats. The mantis is a mist of green, the system windows flood in. 10th floor cleared, level up. The reward is 1 kilogram of mana stone, another S++ rank, another platinum badge. Kosak strikes a pose and announces mission complete. Then a bigger announcement lands. Ju-hyuk has been awarded a perk for accumulating 10 platinum badges. He grins because he already remembers that the last badge milestone gave him one too. He wonders what this one will be. The window explains itself. He can copy 1 skill from his summon. The list includes Blade Burst and Shock Break and Despicable Ambush and Poison Dagger and Shadow Step and Confusion and Stealth and Invisibility and Polymorph and more. Ungosak does not even let him think. He tells Ju-hyuk that without a doubt he must learn Shadow Step. Ju-hyuk blinks and asks why. Kosak presses and says no questions and no arguments. Ju-hyuk asks for the reason. Kosak explains cheerfully and deadly serious at the same time that it is very convenient for running away. Even if something happens to him, his summoner can escape secretly and quickly. Ju-hyuk bristles at that. He asks what kind of person Kosak thinks he is. Does he really think Ju-hyuk is the type of guy who would just bolt to save his own skin? The system quietly chimes. Skill Shadow Step learned and registered in the status window. Kosak delivers a straight-faced sermon on how quick footwork is extremely important in combat. He says footwork is the key to a good fight. Ju-hyuk wonders if the skill will work in real life. He shouts Shadow Step and just takes a normal step forward. Then he tries Instant Step. He collapses, drenched in sweat, and wheezes that if they made summoning real, they should make this real too. There is no consistency at all. Kosak cheerfully replies that he is not sure what Ju-hyuk is saying, but he is right. Day 11 of climbing the tower. Our boy is drained but rich in mana stones. He dials the Awakening Management Department call center. He introduces himself in a shaky voice as Bong Ju-hyuk and stammers that he has had an awakening. The cheerful representative congratulates him and offers to send government representatives to his home. She takes his address and thanks him for his support. When the call ends, Ju-hyuk collapses back at his desk with a long, tired sigh. Bong Ju-hyuk, average citizen, contacting the Awakening Management Department to sell his mana stones. It was the most courageous decision he has made in his 25 years of life. Some minutes later, a black car pulls up at the department. Manager Lee Min-ah steps out and team leader Jeon Gwang-il asks how yesterday's awakened individual from Daegu turned out. The answer is bad. It does not seem like that one is the person behind the S++ records. Jun curses under his breath and wonders if the real prodigy will even show up. Another staffer approaches with fresh paperwork. He says another awakening application came in today and asks if Jun will come along. Jun takes the file and says yes. For now, they need to get out there and hit the pavement. If it turns out to be the right person, they have to bring them into the elite team no matter what. They will shower them with every benefit the Awakening Management Department can offer. Meanwhile, Ju-hyuk's cleaning his whole room as clean as possible. A knock lands on Ju-hyuk's door. The Awakening Management Department has arrived. He panics and calls out that he will get the door and yanks it open. Jun steps in first with a friendly hello and apologizes for the cramped space. He introduces himself as Team Leader Jun from the Awakening Management Department. He gestures to the woman beside him and mentions that Manager Lee here is also a player, so Ju-hyuk should feel free to ask her anything. Ju-hyuk's stomach flips as he realizes there is a woman here too, and now he is even more nervous. Lee Min-ah steps closer with a soft "excuse me." The young man squeaks out that he sees and introduces himself as Bong Ju-hyuk. Then she is right in his face, almost forehead to forehead. His heart pounds. She is so close. Her eyes narrow and then widen. She says it is him, the S++. Our boy Bong Ju-hyuk stands frozen while Manager Lee Min-ah's face hovers just inches from his own. She says the words quietly like she is already sure of the answer. She says it is him, the S++. Ju-hyuk lets out a strangled sound and jerks backward, already sweating. His brain is running in every direction at once. What is even happening? Is there some awakened detection method he does not know about? He steadies himself and decides on the only strategy a wimp knows. First, deny it. Just act natural. He forces out a nervous stutter and says that he thinks he has heard of that S++ thing. That is not him, though. He follows it up with a shaky laugh. Lemina raises one finger and points at his face. She says those are textbook signs of lying and asks if he would take a look at them. Jun karate chops her lightly on the head and tells her he has warned her already about pushing people. She promises to be more careful. He bows to Ju-yuk and apologizes for being rude to a player. Ju-yuk quickly waves it off and says it is fine. Inside, though, he thinks that so they really were just probing him. Jun settles in and starts a briefing video on the screen. A tiny black tower mascot named Tavi bounces into view. Tavi introduces itself as the mascot of Korea's Black Tower and offers to walk any newly awakened viewer through the essentials. So what is the Black Tower? It is jet black and ominous and impossibly huge. It dwarfs the tallest skyscraper on Earth. It appeared all over the world overnight 20 years ago. Countries mobilized armies and scientists to uncover its secrets, but no one could get close. It was as if an invisible barrier surrounded the tower and physical access was flat out impossible. Then what is it really? That question was answered when players appeared. The tower turns out to be structured like a game where a player can advance through the floors. Outside the tower, players are just regular people. Inside, they wield powerful abilities. They upgrade their equipment with the rewards earned from clears, and their work contributes hugely to the global economy. Then Tavi drops a colder question. What happens if a country does not climb the tower? A system window flashes the warning. It says that the Black Tower Korea nation is sluggish, and a tower collapse countdown has been initiated. The countdown will only stop when the next uncleared upper floor has been successfully climbed. Simply put, if a country fails to keep climbing every 6 months, the timer starts. Then eventually the tower collapses. That is how the city of Mumbai in India disappeared 3 years ago. Tavi cheerfully brings the focus back to Korea. Each country has between 1 and 3 towers. Korea only has 1. There are an estimated 5,000 Korean players in total, and that is roughly 0.01% of the population. It is not a lot, but it is enough to keep pushing the country forward. Korea's current record sits at floor 65, and only the United States is ahead at 66. Tavi says warmly that they have players, the heroes of their society. Just as humanity once explored the New World, humanity is now exploring and learning about the tower. Tavi tells the newly awakened to pay attention. They are the hope of this era. How about registering as an official player right now? They can become heroes too. Jun closes the briefing playback and moves on to verification. He asks Ju-hyuk politely if he really is an awakened. The young man confirms with a nervous yes and mentions he has already entered the tower and done some raiding. He slides over a handful of mana stones as proof. Jun relaxes and says this will be easy. He asks which floor Ju-hyuk reached. Ju-hyuk mumbles the 10th. Jun's eyebrows lift. The 10th floor, the exact same floor as the S++ record. Lee Mina leans over her own thought and silently wonders if it could be him. Jeon leans a little closer and his tone is friendly and sharp at the same time. He asks if Player Bong has heard about the public announcement that has been trending lately. Our boy mentally screams at himself to play it cool. He answers in careful chopped syllables. He says that he thinks he has heard of that S++ rank clear. He does not know who it is, but they seem like a really amazing player. He punctuates it with a limp laugh. Jeon tells him he really does not need to be so nervous. Ju-hyuk twitches on the couch and wonders internally if it truly is just excessive nerves. Lee quietly concludes to herself that he is definitely suspicious. Jeon shifts into the contract explanation. The Korean government divides players into 2 groups. The first is the elite team, and the second is the general team. General teams are individual players who plan and run their dungeon raids independently. They are basically freelancers. Elite teams sit much closer to the Awakening Management Department. They are obligated to attempt higher-level clears, but in return they receive a wide range of support and benefits. One benefit is personal protection outside the tower, since players are still just regular people out here. Elites also get a basic annual salary. Ju-hyuk feels his stomach turn. If they discover he is the S++, he pictures himself being swarmed by cameras and reporters. He imagines voices demanding to know if he is really that weak and whether he even has any friends. He recoils inside his own head. No. He hates being the center of attention. Jion continues that elite applicants clear their dungeon raids with a body camera provided by the department. Joo-hyuk swallows hard, then he says it. He will not be applying for the elite team. Jion blinks. Joo-hyo pushes through and says he is perfectly happy with the general team. The elite conditions are much better, but honestly he has no talent. And also it is scary. He is fine stopping at a reasonable floor and taking home reasonable rewards. John suggests he think about it a little more. Joo-hyo answers no. He has already made up his mind. John sighs inwardly about another dead end. He notes that plenty of players do like to stop at a certain point and safely farm the same floors, but this is the first time someone has been so blatant about it during the very first evaluation. Lee Mina is watching, and she decides silently that someone this underrated does not even deserve consideration. Even if he had volunteered for the elite team, he is the exact type they should never accept. Because the single most important quality of an elite team member is the will to climb. John simply says aloud that he respects player Bong's decision. Joo-hyo stammers a small thank you. John then asks if Joo-hyo would mind entering the tower right here from his apartment. It is the last step to confirm his awakening. Joo-hyo says yes, that is fine. John adds a bit too casually that it would be a waste to burn his one daily entry chance and not clear anything. Why not go in and knock out a floor while he is at it? Nothing too big, of course. Our boy silently panics because John is subtly testing him. He is still trying to figure out whether Joo-hyo is the mystery S++ player. He agrees to go in and clear a floor. However, he warns them that he usually takes up the full time limit, so it might be close to 2 hours. John smiles and says that is completely fine. It is their job and they will be waiting. The guy tells the two visitors to watch some TV and help themselves to drinks in the fridge. Then he steps into the blue light and disappears. The moment he is gone, Jion confirms out loud that he is definitely an awakened. Lee asks what Jion thinks of him. Jion replies that he cannot say much about talent, but the boy seems way too timid. His speech and his actions are all so subdued. Lee tells him that Joo-hyo will almost certainly give up on the 11th floor this time. Jion asks why. Lee explains that she has cleared it before. The 11th floor is designed to test a player's fear. The long-tailed giant centipedes are not particularly difficult to defeat, but the mission demands he kill a full 100 of the hideous crawling things. She cannot imagine someone this timid seeing it through. She is sure he will just give up and head back to the safe zone. Jion admits she has been right about everything so far. He should call the chief. Inside the tower, Kosak drops in cheerfully and thanks Joo-hyuk for summoning him. The system window opens the 11th floor mission. He has to eliminate 100 long-tailed giant centipedes within 3 hours. Joo-hyuk's stomach lurches at the number. 100 of all things? Kosak breezily promises he can polish this off in about 5 minutes flat. Joo-hyuk stops him hard. He tells Kosak no. Today he needs to hunt them as slowly as possible. Take over an hour so nothing shows up in the S++ clear history. He explains that there are eyes watching outside, and that he is unsummoning Kosak inside the tower again today, just to be safe. Kosak grins in dark comprehension. He says he understands what his summoner means. Our boy hunches with a delighted little scheme in his eyes. He only needed to show the AMD that he entered a floor and finished it, nothing more. He can completely slip out of the S++ net by turning in terrible records on paper. He tells himself the plan is airtight. Kosak begins the hunt. The first centipede goes down in a blur of blue blade energy. Joo-hyuk immediately calls out that it is way too fast. He tells Kosak to hunt them slower. Kosak agrees and the pace drops. Joo-hyuk breathes out and tells himself that if he continues like this, it will be easy. Then he freezes. A giant centipede has crept up right behind him. He whips around and screams. His whole body seizes as he tries to move. If he wants to escape, he has to use a skill, but his body will not listen. Kosak's head snaps up mid-swing. He shouts that he is coming. Kosak tears through the swarm in a streak of blue lightning. He says these hideous centipede things dare come near his summoner. He appears at Joo-hyuk's side in one blink, and the attacker is nothing but gone. Joo-hyuk lets out a sharp gasp. Kosak sprints straight back into the fight. Joo-hyuk cries out for him to wait. Slowly. Too fast. Kosak shouts back that since it is an order, he will slow down as much as possible, but Bong Joo-hyuk's safety is the top priority. He shreds through the remaining swarm at maximum speed. Joo-hyuk watches the count spiral toward completion. If Kosak keeps going like that, then everything is ruined. The system window drops in cold blue light. It announces that he has achieved S++ rank on the 11th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. The reward is another platinum badge. Juyuk lets out a soft sound. The follow-ups roll in. He may now challenge the 12th floor. He has exited the Black Tower, Korea. Back in the apartment, Lee Mena glances at her watch and remarks that it has been 5 minutes. She says Juyuk should be coming out any second. A chime lights the air between them. Then the public announcement lands right in front of both agents. S++ rank achieved on the 11th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. Lee's eyes widen. Jun breathes her name. Blue light spills across the room and our boy reappears in his own apartment. Lee whispers that there is no way. John asks what is going on. Almost at the same exact moment, player Bong showed up. The S++ rank for the 11th floor clear appeared. The young man stands there in his gray hoodie, exhausted and letting out a long breath. He did not want to have to do this. Behind him, Kosak materializes in silhouette with his blade already drawn. He speaks quietly to the two agents. He tells them that they will have to be silenced. Our boy Bong Juyuk has about half a second to save 2 lives. Kosak has just materialized in silhouette with his dagger drawn. He calmly informs team leader John and manager Lee that the two of them will have to be silenced. Juyuk shrieks the assassin's name. Kosak turns to him mid-stride, looking apologetic and helpful. He begins to say that he will just bind these two immediately, but Juyuk cuts him off with a strangled scream and lunges into the room. He blurts out in full panic that nobody said anything about beheading anyone. Somehow the moment passes without bloodshed. Jun and Lee are on the floor, deeply shaken but very much alive. They keep apologizing over and over to player Bong Juyuk. Juyuk stares down at them, still sweating, and manages a small sound. Jun looks up at him with concern and asks if he is all right, given how drenched he is all of a sudden. The young man realizes with a private groan that he has been visibly paranoid this entire time. He wipes his face and answers that yes, he is fine. Jun steadies himself and returns to work. He says that their elite team desperately needs a man of Juyuk's talent. Our boy panics again, and this time he tries to bury the S++ suspicion under desperate improvisation. He says it must be a misunderstanding. It must just be that his 11th floor run happened to overlap with another player's. John plays along a beat too enthusiastically and marvels at what a coincidence that is. Lee notes flatly that the timing is a little too perfect for that. Juyuk stumbles through another line about a corrupted account and swears it definitely was not him. Lee narrows her eyes and asks if he is sure. Juyuk chirps out a yup. He means yes. John breaks the tension with a mild acknowledgement and a resigned little laugh. Well, that is how it is. Now that they have confirmed he really is awakened, they should get his contract ready. E slides a document across the coffee table. Juyuk's eyes bulge. This is an elite contract. He specifically asked for a standard one. Jun confirms cheerfully that this one is on a completely different level from the usual. He calls it a contract unlike any other in the industry. The one and only ultra-elite contract. He walks Juyuk through the terms. Annual salary of 12 billion won. Real estate provided. VVIP treatment and thorough security. And on top of all that, legal immunity. Jun adds with a light little laugh that at this point he is practically above the law. The guy stares at the paper dazed. It is like being royalty. Jun tells him that currently these benefits are only granted to Yu Chul-min, who is the player ranked first in Korea. He says to have a look because it includes every benefit the nation can offer. Juyuk shouts no. He will not be a player unless it is a regular contract. Jun blinks and he is genuinely baffled. He asks why on earth Juyuk is so opposed. Juyuk turns away with a small mumble that he just does not like getting attention. A quick tour through his life explains everything. In a clothing store, a stylish clerk asks what kind of look he is going for, and Juyuk immediately apologizes and flees. He mutters that he came into the wrong shop. At a convenience store, the cashier grins and says he is a regular now and slips him a small extra. Juyuk internally panics that he is never coming back here. To him, receiving attention is a burden. Too much attention is stressful and it makes his heart pound. He is deeply and painfully introverted. Even climbing the tower has just started to feel like fun, but this is only floor 11 and the future is uncertain and he really is not sure. He tells Jun that he thinks it is best to back down for now. Jun understands. In that case, they will go with the standard contract. Anyone watching from the outside would find this frustrating. They would want to shake him and demand to know why he does not just sign the elite contract and take every benefit and climb the tower already. But with an elite contract comes responsibility. Then if Ju-Yuk wants to stop climbing later on, he simply will not be allowed to. That team exists purely to conquer the uncleared upper floors. He will pass on that kind of pressure. He is happy just making a better living than before. At the Seoul Hanamdong Awakening Management Department, tension climbs the corporate ladder. A senior official calls Jun into a room and points out that his final report is completely different from his phone briefing. He asks if Jun did not say Ju-Hyuk was a timid player with no desire to climb the tower. Jun confirms that is correct. The same person is the S++ rank achiever? That is correct. The senior official mutters that he simply does not understand. Perhaps the player's personality is just unique. Jun nods. Ju-Hyuk really is the kind of ordinary citizen you rarely see out in the wild. The senior asks if there is any chance they mistook him for someone else. Jun answers flatly that no, the timing lines up too perfectly. Then director Park Kyung-soo explodes into the meeting, red-faced and furious. He says, so what if the guy is timid? He has exceptional talent. Park roars at the whole team to get him on the elite team no matter what. Chun salutes and vows they will absolutely bring him in. Back at Jo-Yuk's apartment, our boy is on the warpath about a completely different problem. He yells at Kosak that everything has been exposed. Kosak kneels in humble apology. Jo-Yuk warns him that if he pulls that stunt one more time, he is done and unsummoned on the spot. Kosak snaps a sharp yes sir. The system window flashes. 12th floor entered. The mission is to eliminate 20 ice icicle spear weasels within 3 hours. A frozen landscape opens around them. Ju-Hyuk hisses at Kosak to be real gentle and real slow. Good. Their new charge is very polite and quick to answer. He thinks he can trust him this time. If Ju-Hyuk clears the 12th floor at a normal pace, the AMD will lose interest in the S++ mystery. But then Ju-Hyuk on the app feed starts shivering violently in the ice. The young man mutters that even though he prepared for this, it is colder than he thought. Kosak tells him to just bear with it. Then he sees his summoner's face and immediately loses it. He shouts about Ju-Hyuk's face and asks if he is all right. He announces he will finish this as quickly as possible and escort him to a warm room. Ju-Hyuk waves both hands desperately, insisting he is fine and to take it slow. Kosak roars back that Ju-Hyuk might catch a cold if he is not careful, and that colds are an incurable disease and his life is in danger. Ju-Hyuk pleads and reminds him about absolute obedience. Kosak informs him firmly that this time the summoner needs to obey. He flies through the weasels at full speed. The system chimes. S++ rank achieved on the 12th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. Platinum badge awarded. Meanwhile, back in the office watching a monitoring app, Jun sighs with relief. Jun is watching through the monitoring app and calls immediately with a slightly cracked voice. He asks if player Bong Ju-Hyuk really just cleared the 12th floor. Ju-Hyuk, still shivering in his cold weather gear, answers yes, but says the 13th floor might be difficult. At home, Kosak adds that it is warm now, and Jun can rest assured. Then Ju-Hyuk unsummons Kosak cheerfully and announces he is off to go watch some TV. Kosak howls in fading protest, asking who does his summoner think he is to be watching TV. The blue light swallows him mid-tantrum. The 13th floor turns out to be a corridor full of traps. Ju-Hyuk stares at the deathly hallway and whispers that this place is really unavoidable. Kosak tells him there are too many variables and he might get hurt. Before Ju-Hyuk can protest, Kosak sweeps him up and sprints straight through the corridor. He says they will go past these traps immediately. The announcement lands. S++ rank achieved on the 13th floor. The 14th floor is worse. Giant eyeball bats with sonic attacks that have an area of effect wide enough to hit even Kosak himself. Ju-Hyuk warns him seriously that even he will get caught in it. Kosak replies that he will eliminate them before that happens. The bats come apart in an ice-blue burst. Another announcement. S++ rank achieved on the 14th floor. Our boy, watching from a safe distance, mutters that whatever happens, happens. Later at home, he opens his banking app and stares. Transaction history glows on the display. Mana Stone sales proceeds plus 2,750,000. General player support funds plus 2 million. He does the math out loud. 2.75 million for the Mana Stone sales and 2 million for general support. If he adds the 5 kilograms of mana stones he received as rewards from the 11th through 14th floors, he has earned over 7 million won in just 2 weeks. If he keeps this up and reaches the 20th floor without any problems, the mana stones alone will weigh at least 2 kilos per drop. If he lets the AMD handle sales, that comes out to about 1 million won per day, pure 1 million daily income and no more part-time gigs. He gasps. A life with a monthly salary of 30 million won is waiting for him. He is quitting his part-time jobs, all of them. The next day, Ju-hyuk summons Kosak again. The assassin drops to his knees the moment he materializes. He says that to be given a perfect score of 5 even after committing the grave sin of disobeying orders and outright insubordination, he is overwhelmed. The guy waves him back up. He tells Kosak to take it easy from the 15th floor onward. He will not tell him to take it slow anymore. Kosak asks in wonder if that is really okay. Ju-hyuk shrugs and says it is all out in the open with the AMD anyway. Internally, he adds a sharper calculation. If they clear the 15th floor as S++, that will make 15 platinum badges. There is a high chance he will get another special perk. Our boy grins with a fresh gleam of greed. The more perks he stacks, the safer he will be. He tells Kosak they should go. Kosak answers with a sharp yasir. The 15th floor opens. The mission is to eliminate 20 goblin workers. Kosak notes with interest that this is his first time seeing humanoid monsters. He says they are not especially strong, but they do have some intelligence. On floors like this, clearing takes annoying effort even with information. If even one goblin escapes, it will call the others. Goblins are cunning, so his summoner should hide especially well this time. Then Kosak fades from view using his stealth skill. Ju-hyuk mouths a hushed wow and wonders if he can learn that one later. Kosak tears through the goblin camp entirely invisible. Silent slashes light up the trees in blue flashes. Ju-hyuk mutters that this is insane. They are dying without even noticing. The system windows roll in. 15th floor cleared. Level up? The reward is 1.5 kilograms of mana stone. He also gets another tower-exclusive healing potion grade S++ rank achieved on the 15th floor. Another platinum badge. He may now challenge the 16th floor. He has exited the Black Tower. Back in his living room, Ju-hyuk opens his inventory. Blue light pours from his palm. That makes a total of 15 platinum badges. He steadies himself. Surely he will get another one, and the system chimes right on cue. A perk has been awarded for accumulating 15 platinum badges. Yes, here it is. He murmurs to himself about the pattern. When he collected 5 badges, he got a perk that upgraded his trait. When he got 10, he received a perk that allowed him to copy a skill from his summon. Our boy grins wide and he is half greedy and half terrified. What will it be this time? Our boy Bong Ju-hyuk stares in disbelief as the system window unfolds his newest perk. He has been awarded a perk for accumulating 15 platinum badges. The perk is an item. An energy barrier kit has been added to his tower-exclusive inventory. A small golden ring materializes in his palm. The description scrolls across his vision. The effect protects the user with a damage-absorbing barrier. The limitation is that the barrier disappears after absorbing a certain amount of damage and requires a 5-hour cooldown before reuse. The barrier effectiveness scales with the user's level. He slips it on. A soft blue aura wraps around his whole body. Ju-hyuk's jaw drops. This is basically full-body armor. Then his eye catches on the fine print. The item is not labeled tower exclusive, and that means one very interesting thing. He tests it right there in his kitchen. He calls out energy barrier, and the blue aura springs up around him. He can use this in the real world too. The young man turns the little bracelet over in his fingers, and his mind starts ticking. How much would he get if he sold this? 2 billion won? 3? He seriously considers it. Sell it and retire from the tower and live happily ever after. Then a colder thought pushes in. If a 15-badge perk gives him an item like this, then better rewards might be waiting higher up. He calls out to Kosak and asks if they can clear floor 16 with an S++ right away. Kosak scratches the back of his head. He says clearing floor 16 is definitely possible, but they will have to be careful, and he cannot promise an S++. Ju-hyuk deflates. Then what should he do? He turns the bracelet in his hand again. Should he just sell it? Meanwhile, at the Awakening Management Department, alarm bells are quietly ringing. Someone reports that the last S++ clear record has stopped updating. 15 days. Player Bong is stuck on the 15th floor. Director Park Kyung-soo clutches his shining bald head and cries out that heaven is cruel for giving such talent to an incredibly timid player. Jun offers a careful counter. He says the difficulty ramps up sharply from floor 16 onward. Player Bong has not given up on clearing it. They should wait a little longer. A staffer bursts in with fresh news. Bong Joo-hyuk is coming to the Awakening Management Department. He wants to use the player shop. Park's head snaps up. Could it be? Has he been repeating floor 15 just to raise funds to buy items? The staffer confirms that seems to be the case. Joo-hyuk was empty-handed when they visited his home for the Awakening confirmation. Park slaps his forehead. How could he have been so stupid? He was about to criticize Player Bong without even realizing what the boy was actually doing. He barks fresh orders. When Player Bong arrives, they should support him with whatever items he wants at a low price. However, 15 days earlier, our boy is about to do something so profoundly stupid that even his own summon short-circuits. Kosak lets out a strangled sound. He asks what his summoner just said. Joo-hyuk repeats it flatly. Just stab him, with that dagger. Kosak panics as Joo-hyuk lifts up his shirt like it is the most casual thing in the world. He wants to know why Joo-hyuk is doing this to him. If Joo-hyuk does not like him, he should just beat him to death instead. Joo-hyuk snaps back that he only wants to see whether the energy barrier is working properly. Kosak sobs that it is not that he dislikes his summoner and it is just a little upsetting. He asks why Joo-hyuk is making such a fuss. Then he clamps his hands over his ears and announces he did not hear anything and cannot hear anything. The guy sighs. This is so frustrating. He grabs the dagger himself and plants it into his side. Then he realizes with a groan that he forgot to actually turn on the barrier first. Kosak shoots to his feet with a murderous purple aura roaring that he will cut off the evil arm that dared to stab Bong Joo-hyuk. Joo-hyuk squeaks at him to just stay right there. The system window quietly informs him that the healing effect has been applied. Joo-hyuk lays down the law. Kosak absolutely cannot do that again. Kosak salutes with complete seriousness and confirms. Now go back to hunting. While Kosak blitzes the 15th floor for the umpteenth time, our boy decides to make himself useful. Kosak's hunts wrap up in about 10 minutes no matter how many goblins are involved, and Joo-hyuk figures he might as well practice his skills in the meantime. He tries the one Kosak was so insistent about, Shadow Step. Blue light flashes and he arrives 20 paces to his left before he can even blink. So this is what it feels like. He gets why Kosak told him to learn this one first. He can move around freely and it is perfect for escaping. He starts wandering to test the range. Then a small feral shriek rips through the trees behind him. Joo-hyuk whirls around. A goblin alone and clutching a rusted knife glares up at him. Our boy panics. Was this one hiding from Kosak? The goblin lunges. Joo-hyuk yelps and shouts energy barrier. The blue aura springs up around him just in time. The goblin bounces off with a squeal. Joo-hyuk gasps that he is getting goosebumps and then reflexively boots the goblin square in the chest. Kosak skids in from nowhere and finishes the goblin in one blue slash. Then his face falls. He asks if Joo-hyuk is okay. Did Joo-hyuk fight a goblin? What was he thinking? Is he hurt anywhere? He grabs Joo-hyuk's shoulders and shakes them a little too enthusiastically. He mutters that his summoner seems way too comfortable. He tells Joo-hyuk that he must not fly too close to the sun. The young man promises he will be careful. His ears hurt from all the shaking. 2 weeks slip by. Joo-hyuk repeats the 15th floor over and over, and after a while he has grown surprisingly comfortable with his skills. The mana stones piled up in his inventory now weigh 22.5 kilograms. That is about 11.25 million won at market value. He picks up his phone with a shaky breath and dials the Awakening Management Department. The delighted greeting comes through. He asks quietly if it would be all right for him to come by the player shop right now. The rep tells him of course and that they will send someone to pick him up right away. Joo-hyuk waves both hands over the phone, insisting that he can get there himself, but the rep gently insists. She tells him not to feel burdened because this is a privilege that all contracted players receive. He can easily sell his mana stones there too. Joo-hyuk stammers a small okay and says he will wait. A limousine glides up outside his building. Joo-hyuk climbs in, and Jung greets him from the seat opposite. He says it has been a long time and that the department sincerely welcomes him. Ju-yuk manages a wobbly hello. Inside his own head, he is already flagging this. No matter how he looks at it, this is definitely VIP treatment. Jun leads him inside. A handprint scanner glows and registers him. The guide tells him that from now on he can come anytime and use the shop without calling ahead. She asks if he would like a tour. Ju-yuk answers that no thank you, he will just take his time and look around himself. The shop opens up in front of him, gleaming and cavernous. This is the player shop. It is impossibly luxurious. He notes that there is not a single other customer though. He wonders if the items are just too expensive. First things first, he sells the mana stones. The clerk tells him it comes to 11.25 million won at market price, and the funds will hit his account within 3 days. Ju-hik asks, half hopeful, if he can use it here right away. The clerk says of course, and that he can use it immediately. But seeing the price, he wants to buy something quick and head home. Meanwhile, back at the office, Jane checks in over radio. He asks how things are going and if player Bong has begun buying without issues. The staff report that yes, he is browsing, and they have informed all the other players that the shop is closed today. Jane asks about the prices. Staff answer that they told everyone to give him a 40% discount because he is so timid that offering the items for free might make him uncomfortable enough to refuse. Jian smiles and says good. Sunset paints the city gold. Ju-hik walks out with a mighty adamant mace priced at 2 million won and a pair of basilisk leather boots at 3 million won. He mutters to himself that he has heard those kinds of items usually run 20 to 30 million each, and team leader Jun came out to greet him personally. No matter how he looks at it, this is definitely special treatment. Nothing in this world is free. This is getting uncomfortable. Well, those items are pretty though. And then there is the energy barrier, which is the perk armor that unifies all of his defenses. All of this is thanks to the perks. He originally decided not to be greedy when he started climbing the tower, but these perks are really tempting and he is getting greedy. The next day, Kosak materializes cheerfully and says he is honored to be summoned again today. Ju-hik asks if they are repeating floor 15. Then with an unexpected flicker of resolve, he changes his mind. No, they are going to floor 16. Then he freezes. A system chime brushes across the edge of his awareness. The summon cooldown is over. His eyes widen. Then Ju-hik turns into a live wire. He says they should summon one more. He clasps his hands together and starts praying to every deity he has ever heard of. He calls out to the gods of heaven and earth and goes through every prayer he knows. Random summon. Kosak tilts his head in confusion, but purple energy is already erupting from Ju-hik's outstretched hand. Something is coming through. A silhouette forms in the swirling purple. Ju-hik's eyes fly open in shock. A glowing purple diamond flickers on his forehead and sweat is pouring down his face. He can only wonder just what the heck he summoned. His last panicked thought is about his security deposit as everything around him rattles apart. A massive purple fist slams down through the swirling energy, then another one bigger and rougher cracking the floor. When the smoke thins, a huge man is crouched there in a rope loincloth and tribal wraps. He is silhouetted against the aura with a tuft of feathered hair and a face half-shadowed. Bong Ju-hik lets out a squeak that is barely a word. He wonders if this new arrival is a person or a monster. Kosak has already made up his mind. Before Ju-hik can even think, the assassin blurs past him with a snarl. He calls the newcomer a moron and drives a dagger straight into the barbarian's back. Ju-hik cries out in shock. Kosak does not stop. He lands and spins and swings again with a full overhead strike. He demands to know why this guy of all people has to be here. He shouts at him to die and to drop dead and to lower his eyes right now before Kosak takes them out for him. The young man stumbles closer, panicked and utterly confused. He mutters that these two seem to know each other, but something is very wrong with the picture. The huge barbarian is still standing. Kosak's blades slide off his chest like it is made of stone. The barbarian looks down at his own body with mild curiosity and then looks at Kosak. He observes flatly that it does not hurt. In fact, he says it kind of tickles. Kosak does not take that well. He explodes with fury and wonders if this brute is mocking him. He vows to see if the barbarian can still sit around comfortably after Kosak takes his head off. He even promises to tie a pretty ribbon on the severed head for him as a gift straight from the Cruel Assassins Guild. Jo-hyuk finally snaps out of his freeze and shrieks at Kosak to stop. The apartment ceiling is already half broken from the summon, and our boy pleads with the assassin that one shattered ceiling is more than enough for one day. He is begging seriously. Kosak gives a stiff acknowledgement. Jo-hyuk then asks Kosak to please step aside for a moment. He needs to talk to their new guest. Kosak sulks, but he warns his summoner that this really is not necessary. This barbarian is infamous. He is known throughout their world as a genuine idiot. He probably does not even know the three principles of the summoned. That does it. The barbarian puffs up his chest and insists he does know them. He studied hard. Kosak tells him to recite them then. What follows is painful to watch. The barbarian scrunches his face and mumbles that the first principle is summoner obedience, or wait summoner absolute life, or maybe both are right. The second is that a summoner should understand value first and then conflict, or something like that. The third one is and here he trails off completely, staring blankly at the ceiling. Kosak throws up his hands and declares that this proves his point. Jo-hyuk drew a dud. They need to kill this guy right now so that he cannot be resummoned for 100 days. Jo-hyuk chokes on his own breath. There is a rule like that. Kosak does not answer because Jo-hyuk has already opened the catalog window to check the details himself. The catalog window lights up in front of him. The entry names this summon the dull barbarian meat shield of the Great Plains tribe, with actual name unknown. Rarity is listed as R rank, which is the very lowest tier Jo-hyuk can even draw. Type reads Barbarian Warrior and Human. Manifestation duration is 10 hours with a resummon cooldown of 3 hours after unsummon. The guy stares at the R rank tag and cannot hide his disappointment. He mutters that this is a bit rough and wonders if he should just wait a month and roll the dice again. Still, he sits the barbarian down for a proper interview first. He puts on his hard hat and straightens his tie and pretends to be a professional recruiter. He asks the huge man for his name. The barbarian says he does not know his name and that he forgot it a long time ago. Jo-hyuk tries again and asks if the man knows why he is here at all. The answer is a flat no. What about the tower then? The barbarian shakes his head and mutters that he does not know and cannot remember any of it. Jo-hyuk slumps back and groans that this whole interview is deeply frustrating. He resigns himself and mumbles that he will just have to read the detailed description on the catalog window instead. The moment his fingers touch the description text, purple lightning cracks up his arm. He yelps. It hits him then. Just like with Kosak, he is being pulled straight into this summon's memories, whether he wants to be or not. Our boy opens his eyes in a wide-open field under a huge sky. Butterflies drift past his face. The barbarian is there in front of him, younger and softer. He is holding out a hand and watching a butterfly land on his palm. The barbarian smiles and murmurs that butterflies are pretty. A quiet voice threads through the memory, narrating him. This is a barbarian warrior of the Great Plains tribe, and he is a pure being who found happiness simply by being with nature. However, his purity aside, his physical abilities were absolutely top-notch. In the next moment of memory, the barbarian is holding two enormous Great Plains giant wolves by their scruffs, one in each hand. He asks them if they want to play because he likes playing. Then the tone shifts. The memory continues and says that despite all of this, he was also far too dim-witted. A blond man with an earring and a sly smile appears. He tells the barbarian that he had heard he was enormous. The blonde introduces himself as Arius and asks the barbarian for his name in return. The barbarian is already smiling too easily at the stranger. He admits he does not know his name. He forgot. He has been dim-witted for so long that he cannot even remember it. And so deceived by a fake hero, the barbarian warrior was set up as a meat shield in a battle against the archfiend Hydra. Jo-hyuk watches, unable to look away as the memory floods forward. Using his powerful body alone, the barbarian withstood the Hydra's breath and fought back. He tore off its heads one after another, unaware that his own skin was melting away with every second he stood in that acid rain. He kept going anyway. All of it was for the sole purpose of protecting his comrades. In the end, he met his demise dissolved by accumulated acid while those very comrades stood back and jeered at him. They laughed at his dissolving body and called him such an idiot. They thanked him too and said they easily won because of him. And then only a bare skeleton remained standing in a pool of green. Jo-hyuk's chest tightens, tears sting the corners of his eyes as he pulls out of the memory. He whispers to himself that this is why the barbarian is called a meat shield. This is what that word cost him. Our boy wipes his face and mutters a shaky curse under his breath. It is not fair, it is not even close to fair. When he looks up, the barbarian is still sitting there quietly waiting. Cossack, standing off to the side, shrugs and says, "So what if the guy is a little dumb?" Juhyuk grabs the barbarian's hand with both of his own and says with thick feeling that they should climb the tower together. Now for the practical stuff. He asks his new comrade what he wants to be called. He offers two options, barber or meatball. The barbarian thinks for a long, serious moment and answers meatball. Juhyuk laughs a little through the emotion and promises his dear Meatball that he will make him happy. He asks if Meatball trusts him. Meatball answers in his own broken way that he trusts Summoner and will do what Summoner says. The young man turns to the sulking assassin and announces that from this moment on, Cossack and Meatball and Juhyuk himself are comrades. They will work together. Cossack sputters in shock. His glasses flash. Then a little light bulb pops above his head, and a system chime follows. Cossack sighs theatrically and says fine. If his summoner insists, then fine. Now that he sees Meatball is actually a reliable meat shield, he will teach him well and make something of him yet. Juhyuk beams and says great. Then they should head into the 16th floor right away. On the way in, Cossack cannot help himself. He climbs onto Meatball's massive shoulders and demands to know why Meatball is not answering him. Meatball responds with a simple acknowledgement. Cossack shouts at him to stop copying him. A timid, pathetic player and a mad assassin and a rather simple-minded meat shield. It sounds like a total disaster on paper. But then again, maybe not. The 16th floor system windows roll out, physical abilities enhanced to match level, traits and combat skills now available. Juhyuk mutters that they had better make this work. The mission is to eliminate 30 goblin scouts within a time limit of 5 hours. Failure condition is death or mission abandonment. Cossack tells Juhyuk to activate his energy barrier now and to be ready to use Shadow Step at a moment's notice. Juhyuk nods with his jaw tight and says he got it. Cossack warns that these goblins shoot poison darts, so there is no telling when they will strike. The forest is quiet and way too quiet for comfort. Juhyuk crouches alone in a small clearing while a green goblin steps out from behind a tree overhead. It aims a glowing crossbow bolt straight down at him. Juhyuk's eyes go wide. It is an ambush. Cossack cuts in from the side and yells at him to dodge. He promises he will block for him and takes the bolt himself, gritting through his teeth that they were waiting for the whole group. He glances at the tree line and adds that there are way more than 30 of these things. He barks at Meatball to get in front of them and hold the line. Meatball plants both feet and lets the darts smash off his chest and shoulders with a series of dull impacts. The response is immediate. Something in Meatball's face changes. His eyes narrow. He mutters that this does not work and only tickles. Then in that same slow, calm voice, he says he heard the order and now he will kill them all. Meatball explodes forward. Goblins go flying in every direction and entire ranks get scattered by single swings of his arms. Our boy stares with his jaw slack and asks nobody in particular if this barbarian warrior is really only R rank. If they are talking about combat prowess alone, maybe he is an SR or possibly even an SSR. There is no way this is real. Is the only reason he is stuck at R rank because he is that dumb? Victory dinner is at a fried chicken place. Meatball plants both huge hands around a bucket and declares that this is delicious. Cossack praises him warmly and tells him he was amazing today and to eat up. Then Meatball flips on him mid-bite and snaps that it is chicken, not whatever Cossack called it, and does it look like a duck. He tells Cossack to stop eating them all at once. Cossack takes a swig of soda and yelps that it is so spicy. Meatball tells the assassin with genuine sympathy that it is heartbreaking to see him look like such a fool. Juhyuk holds his forehead and asks if they cannot get along for even one meal. Then Meatball turns solemn. He tells Juhyuk that Summoner is a good person. He says that Summoner feed Meatball chicken and Summoner give life. Cossack chimes in softly. He says that compared to what these two have been through, chicken is nothing. In fact, from now on he should be the one asking Meatball for help. Meatball, warmed by this, roars back that it is chicken, not whatever the other thing was. Cossack yells that he only just wanted to have a touching moment, and Meatball ruined it. The guy sighs and asks the ceiling why he lives like this. Kosak apologizes and claims that Meatball just needed some education. Ju-hyuk grumbles that Kosak has been hogging the food this whole time, while the summoner was distracted. The next day they walk into the 17th floor, and a fresh set of system windows rolls out. Physical abilities enhanced to match the new level, traits and combat skills unlocked again. Ju-hyuk flexes his arm and marvels at the surge running through him. Now that he is level 17, he can feel an uncontrollable amount of power. His heart is racing. Kosak says it is about time Ju-hyuk joined the fray for real and that he will take the lead. Meatball, always steady, says that level 20 is where things get more complicated for a summoner. He tells Ju-hyuk that his job is to protect Summoner, and Summoner needs to stay back to live. Ju-hyuk answers with a very small okay. The mission is to eliminate 30 goblin warriors. They are already there, massed in the trees in tidy little rows with faces sharp with intelligence. Ju-hyuk swallows. He never realized this when he watched other players' walkthroughs. Seeing these things in person is honestly intimidating. There are at least 30 of them. For monsters, these ones are skilled in real strategy and tactics. The strategy guide he studied before entering echoes in his head. When the goblin warriors appear, the smart play is to first retreat to the safe zone and wait things out for a while. Once their forces have scattered and split into patrols of 3, the player is supposed to lure and kill them one at a time without drawing aggro. The cycle repeats until the mission is done. It is the standard method and it does work fine. It also happens to take a lot of time. Our boy stares out at the goblin ranks. Meatball's massive shape looms up beside him. Meatball asks quietly if Summoner is calling him. A grin spreads slowly across Ju-hyuk's face. He announces that he has no need for such a troublesome process anymore, not with Meatball on the team. He points into the goblin ranks and says a single flat word: go. Meatball erupts forward, wreathed in gold and roaring with arms wide. Ju-hyuk watches him charge and thinks that now that Meatball is on the team, he can easily reach the 20th floor and maybe even higher. He raises a lazy hand and delivers the finishing order. Wipe them all out. Then he grins wider and asks the sky what the next perk is going to be. On the 17th floor of the Black Tower, staring down 30 goblin warriors in tidy formation behind a wall of shields and spears. The air is orange with distant fire. Our boy has just given the word and Meatball turns calm as ever and asks if Summoner is calling him. Ju-hyuk grins with a certainty that would surprise anyone who knew him a week ago. He points a lazy finger at the goblin ranks and tells him to wipe them all out. Meatball lights up in gold. His whole body glows and he throws his head back with a huge roar that shakes the trees. The goblin front line watches him come, and one of them lets out a tiny bewildered sound, which is the last thing that goblin ever does. Meatball plows through them like they are made of straw. Spears snap against his chest without even scratching him. His fists come down on shield walls that shatter on impact. He punches and headbutts and swings both arms in wide arcs that send goblin bodies tumbling. Explosions of gold light burst wherever he lands. Ju-hyuk watches from a safe distance with one hand raised to shield his face from the shockwaves. He is absolutely stunned and mutters that his summon is performing insanely well. Strategy and tactics only actually work when the power gap between classes is roughly similar. This here is like a whole army of rental bikes trying to attack a tank. A system window pops up. It says the player has achieved S++ rank for the 17th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. The S++ reward is 1 platinum badge. Kosak, standing off to the side with his arms crossed, gives a small approving nod and mutters that this is genuinely impressive. The next system window rolls the party straight into their next challenge. 18th floor mission is to eliminate 30 goblin assassins. The 18th floor, as it turns out, is where the goblins learn how to hide. Ju-hyuk points forward again with the same confident order and tells Meatball to go. Meatball obeys instantly and rushes into the trees. But this time these enemies are surprisingly monsters who use stealth skills. Something blue and blurred flickers through the underbrush right next to Meatball, and then another shape shimmers into view behind him. His arms suddenly bristle with spears from angles he never saw coming. A hidden fist cracks him across the jaw, and for the first time in the whole tower, Our boy sees Meatball look confused. Ju-hyuk lets out a small nervous sound and admits that this might not be as easy as he thought. Meatball, for his part, is not amused. He plants his feet and bellows out into the empty forest that all assassins are cowards. He demands that they come out and fight properly. Somewhere in the trees, an unseen voice laughs a long, ugly laugh. Koisak finally decides he has watched enough. He steps forward with theatrical disgust and announces that he has been suffering deeply from watching Meatball's whole strategy this entire time. He tells the goblins that he will now purify their eyes with a proper and classy strategy. He thinks smugly to himself that these goblins' little stealth trick cannot even catch up to his toes. Kosak activates Shadow Step. The forest goes white with afterimages of him. Goblin assassin after goblin assassin drops with a single clean cut of his black energy blade. Throat and chest and neck in a rhythm too fast to follow. The system counter ticks up as he moves. 6, then 7, then 8 out of 30 in barely a breath. The young man watches this with his mouth slightly open and murmurs a quiet "oh." Then Ju Hyuk turns his head with his glasses catching the light and grins right at his summoner. He thinks of Kosak with a sly smirk that he fell for it. Here is the honest context. Kosak's whole show is because his activity in the party has been sharply decreasing recently thanks to Meatball. He is frankly feeling a little insecure and trying to make a point. In the very next moment, he is also yelling at Meatball to move it, and Meatball, unbothered, is answering back that he will help too. Stimulation of their competitive spirit is a success. Ju Hyuk holds up his shiny new platinum badge and beams. He says out loud that his boys should work hard and earn more of these. Then, alone with his thoughts, he gets serious. He needs to keep leveling up these sweet abilities of his with more perks. He is already around level 18. His shirt is off and red aura is peeling off his shoulders. He mutters something dramatic under his breath about his long-hidden power. Something faintly horse-shaped shimmers into the air around him. Then, in a much more grounded voice, he admits that he checked all the strategy info before entering the 18th floor. The Goblin Assassin's stealth skill is a low-level version, so if he concentrates hard enough, he can pick up the movement anyway. A cyan outline of a nearby goblin comes clear to his focus. There is nothing to actually be afraid of here. He has practiced Shadow Step over and over while grinding the 15th floor. He knows how to do this. He grits his teeth and vanishes in a blue flash. The goblin turns and sees a boot flying in from an angle it did not expect. It manages exactly one alarmed look before Ju Hyuk lands. Except Ju Hyuk has completely blown the landing. He stumbles forward midair with only one shoe still on his foot and screams that his balance is gone. He crashes into the goblin anyway. The system counter ticks up to 10 out of 30. The guy pulls himself upright, drenched in sweat, and forces the most nonchalant smile he can manage. He tells nobody in particular that he caught that one just as he intended. Anyway, the 18th floor hunt is going pretty well. Something clicks in him after that. He starts slashing through more assassins on his own with one hand on a stolen blade. The counter climbs steadily. He mutters nice under his breath as it passes 15, then 25, then 27 out of 30. He grins at nothing and tells himself only 3 more to go. Meatball has meanwhile turned into a small hurricane on his half of the map, punching 3 goblins in a single triple hit. Kosak is next to him, picking off strays with quick, clean cuts. Kosak yells at Meatball to help more. Meatball snaps back at him to get lost already since he is only in the way. Somewhere between them, both of them stop mid-fight and look around. They quietly ask each other where Summoner Bong actually is. Summoner Bong is deep in the trees getting his own back handed to him. A goblin assassin's blade rakes across his side and he yelps. The energy barrier flares blue and stops it barely. Our boy realizes with a cold jolt that this would have been a genuinely dangerous hit if the barrier had not been up. But then as another blade comes at him, something strange happens. Maybe it is the adrenaline rush, he thinks. The goblin's blade suddenly looks like it is moving through slow motion. He can see the arc of it and the shift of the goblin's shoulder and the angle it will take. It feels for one impossible second like the whole world has slowed down for him. Jo Hyuk breathes out and pivots inside the strike and drives his own blade cleanly through the assassin's chest. The system chimes. The player has achieved S++ rank for the 18th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. The S++ reward is 1 platinum badge. Somewhere in the woods, a hoarse voice calls out for him softly at first and then louder. The young man stands there panting in the quiet forest with blue energy still fading off his blade. He looks up with a slightly dazed grin. He tells the empty air around him that he thinks he got the last hit. His comrades finally crash out of the trees together. Meatball's tribal tattoos catch the last light, and Cossack's spikes are still bristling from the fight. For one long, silent beat, both of them just stare at their summoner before their voices come out together in a low, ominous drone calling for him. The next morning, the story cuts to the outside world where things are absolutely not calm anymore. A female news anchor announces breathlessly that a global tower notification has appeared. 18th floor S++ clear successful. In the Awakening Management Department's office, Director Park Kyung-soo slams his hand down and shouts in excitement. He is unstoppable, one staffer marvels and says he definitely prepared thoroughly for this. A younger AMD voice adds, half-joking, that if he had it his way he would reveal this record holder immediately. Korea's 18 consecutive S++ clears, he says, is standing right here in this office. Another voice snaps at him not to say things like that even as a joke because it is legitimately dangerous if the boy's identity is revealed. The first speaker shrugs and mumbles that he is just saying he is that proud of him. Team leader Jun Gwang-il steps in with the operational verdict. Bong Joo-hyo is now a super special player. They need to care for him even more delicately than they care for their existing elite teams. Outside, on every news channel, the same story runs. A new wind is blowing at the climbing of the Black Tower, Korea. After a 20-day break, a whopping 18 consecutive S++ rank clears have suddenly occurred, and the history of tower climbing itself is being rewritten. Best guess from the analysts is that the mysterious player is currently estimated to be around level 19. The whole nation is talking. It is not just players anymore. Everybody wants a piece of the mystery S++ player's identity. Back in the apartment, Cossack sits on the floor with a spoon in one hand and lets out an exhausted sigh. He is staring at nothing. Joo-hyuk lowers the newspaper he has been pretending to read and finally cracks. He stammers that Cossack should not just sigh like that. If Cossack has something to say, he should just say it. Cossack answers politely, and then admits that his problem is one specific thing. It is too fast. Joo-hyuk blinks at him. What is too fast? Cossack meets his eyes and tells him plainly that it is the speed at which he is realizing his talent. Joo-hyuk's face goes through 5 stages of panic in 1 second. He shrieks and then asks whose talent. Surely not his. He waves his hands and insists that Cossack is joking with him. Cossack is deadly serious now. He tells Joo-hyuk that it is not a joke at all. The shadow step that Joo-hyuk pulled off at the end of the 18th floor was a perfect movement. It was a perfect movement that even Cossack himself would struggle to copy, and that is exactly what makes it even more dangerous. He softens his voice and tells our boy plainly that this is the truth. He lays it out gently. Joo-hyuk will start finding combat fun. He will start gaining confidence, and accordingly the danger increases in exact proportion. If he gets brave, things get dangerous. Cossack raises a warning finger and reminds him that they made a promise from the very start. The promise comes down to safety first and self-preservation always. Joo-hyuk stares back at him with a small puzzled look. Then he nods furiously and blurts out that yes, of course. He absolutely will not do anything dangerous and just go for one on his own. Cossack looks at him for a long, tired beat and answers with the softest, saddest yes in the world. Then he covers his face and admits that he feels uneasy and deeply uneasy about all of this. He is on the verge of tears now and says that our boy summoner definitely feels like he is going to cause a serious accident someday. Cossack still hunched on the floor with tears streaming down his face. He is wailing that our boy summoner definitely feels like he is going to cause an accident someday. Somewhere behind him, an amused narrator drops the honest label. An assassin bawling his eyes out. The wail lasts about 3 seconds before Meatball, who has been listening quietly from the corner, decides he has had enough. He flexes his massive tribal shoulders and threatens the crying assassin that he is going to boil him alive in a pot. Cossack blurs into motion and launches straight at him. The two of them tear through the tiny apartment like a small hurricane, and Joo-hyuk sprints after them, shrieking for both idiots to stop destroying the house. A cucumber goes flying past his ear. A precious kimchi container hits the floor and explodes across the tiles. He stares at the wreckage and lets out a small strangled cry that his fridge is dying. He begs them both to stop trashing the house and just go back where they came from. Our boy crouches in the ruins later that night, cleaning up. He mutters to himself that the precious kimchi is now all over the floor. That kimchi was from Mom, he says quietly. He gives it its proper goodbye under his breath. The next morning, he shows up at his family's apartment. He swings the door open with the usual bright hello and calls out to the house that their son is here. His father, laid up in bed, groans out a greeting and tells him to come in. His mother scolds Jo-hyuk gently that it is not like he lives far away, so he should really visit more often. His father waves a hand and tells her to stop nagging the busy kid. Jo-hyuk asks him carefully how his hip joint is holding up. His father grumbles that bones do not heal easily, and he has been spending half the day lying flat on his back. His mother tells him then to keep lying down. His father argues that he is fine for a little bit. His mother rolls her eyes and calls Jo-hyuk to sit down because she made stew. The young man looks around and asks where his brother is. His mother says Min-hyuk went out to buy tofu and should be back soon. Over stew and kimchi, his mother eases into the difficult topic. She asks if things are tough at home these days. His father tells him not to worry because their mom will find a new job again soon. His mother nods and tells our boy not to worry about them and just live his own life well. She asks him to please stop thinking so hard about sending them money. Jo-hyuk swallows his mouthful and thinks nervously about testing the waters here. If he ever awakened at a time like this, it would be genuinely convenient. He opens his mouth. His mother's eyes flick straight to him. She narrows her gaze and starts asking him not to tell her that he has done something. He sweats through his hoodie and wonders if he should have been more subtle about the whole thing. His father, oblivious to everything, roars with laughter at the very idea. He says that was a joke, right? Jo-hyuk entering the tower? A guy who looks exactly like a cockroach? He lets his son know that his dear old dad is the type of man who asks his wife to catch the household cockroaches. This is officially the funniest joke his son has ever made. Somebody in the room mutters that this is really not something a father should be proud of. His mother refocuses on him with polite suspicion and asks if he is not supposed to be at work today. Jo-hyuk stammers out that today is his day off, actually. Then weakly he adds that he quit everything a while ago. His mother's expression softens. She tells him with a small tired smile that his face shows when he is lying. Jo-hyuk sputters back that he has not lied that many times. Then her voice goes quiet and warm. She says that still mom trusts their son. Jo-hyuk's throat catches. Then her tone sharpens by a single edge. She tells him one hard rule. Just do not use loan sharks, and absolutely not. A memory hits him then that he had somehow forgotten. The breaking news banner across the television announcing the Smile Cash murder with 3 severed heads bearing ribbons on the screen. His stomach drops as he whispers to himself that this cannot be true. Not that particular case, and not those loan sharks. Then, trying to sound casual, he turns to his mother and asks what happened with her job. His mother launches into it, still visibly annoyed by the memory. It was because of a rude customer, she explains. She went out to fix a water purifier, and the household then asked her to clean up all their recycling and food waste while she was at it. She asks Jo-hyuk honestly if she could just stand by and watch that. The guy manages a small ah. She tells him that customer ratings be damned, and she just let those people have it. Then after a beat, she admits she got fired after that. The story pauses to sketch his mother out. His mother is aggressive and brave, and she has a personality that cannot stand injustice. Then it turns to his father, who is currently telling his son that his greatest achievement in life was asking Jo-hyuk's mom out on a date. The narrator gently rolls the punchline. Father who fell head over heels for such a mom is by strict definition the true real beta male. The paternal genes are noted as being pathetic but strong. Jo-hyuk decides that everyone at home is already worried enough. He suggests they talk about the awakening later, after the situation settles down more. Later, out on the street with his younger brother, he shoves a folded envelope of cash into Min-hyuk's hand. His brother stares at it and asks what this is. Jo-hyuk tells him it is allowance for mom and dad, and asks him to make sure they do not overwork themselves. Min-hyuk chases after him and calls out for his Hyung to wait up. Jo-hyuk turns with a slightly puzzled tilt of his head. His brother swallows and mumbles that he thinks he understands what this is about. He works out silently that his older brother must be acting like this because Min-hyuk paid his tuition last time, and this little rascal is probably feeling too shy to actually say thank you. Jo-hyuk, who has heard none of this, smiles gently and tells him that he knows how his brother feels. Min-hyuk brightens and asks if he really does. Jo-hyuk grins. He tells his brother he can speak comfortably now and mentions that mom's allowance and dad's allowance have been handled. But does something not feel a little missing after all that? Seems like his brother forgot Ju-hyuk's share. His brother stares at him. A slow look crosses Ming-hyuk's face. Ju-hyuk cheerfully tells him not to spend it on useless things. A confirmation window pops up above his palm. Transfer of 500,000 won complete. He takes the subway to the Seoul Hanam-dong branch of the Awakening Management Department. Standing in front of the tall building, he explains to himself that he was actually going to go straight back to his place, but he wandered here on a whim. After seeing his family, the thought of doing this whole tower thing properly grew a whole lot bigger inside him. He remembers about that guy that if he visits the player shop, he should please contact him in advance. Ju-hyuk gives a small polite nod and thinks that it should be fine. If that particular manager comes out to meet him again, he will just feel bad. He heads up on his own. Inside the shop, he thinks through his loadout. He does have the energy barrier at least. But the monsters are going to get stronger as he goes up the floors, so it would probably be best to buy a shield. The shop clerk brightens and shows him a gorgeous full-size shield with gold trim. She tells him proudly that it will be 100 million won. Ju-hyuk almost falls over on the spot. 100 million. The clerk stammers back that this is really the only large one they have, and it is unfortunately the heaviest and priciest option. Our boy internally curses the price and wonders miserably why it had to be a female employee helping him too. He also wonders how come there are so many other customers around today when last time there was not a single person in here. The clerk then remembers something and pulls out a small round hand shield made of an adamantium and sectonium alloy. She promises him that it is small and light, and while cheap, it comes with a self-repair function. She encourages him to try it on. Ju-hyuk slips it onto his arm and glows for a moment with genuine pleasure. He tells her it suits him so well that they could honestly call it a set with his mace. He admits very quietly that he really likes it. He stammers out asking how much it costs. She smiles and answers that this one goes for 40 million won. She asks if she should help him with the payment. He answers with as much dignity as he can that yes, he will buy it. His palm goes down on the payment scanner. The window chimes payment complete. The young man nods to himself and mutters that he finally bought it. He quietly wonders how on earth talking to a store employee has turned out to be harder than fighting goblins. He heads for the exit and thinks that anyway now he can go home. A cheerful voice stops him. It asks if he has not been awakened for very long. Ju-hyuk turns with a puzzled look. A friendly man with combed hair and an easy smile introduces himself with an outstretched hand. He laughs and says he is also a player. He tells Ju-hyuk that his name is Choi Hosak and it is nice to meet him. Ju-hyuk shakes his hand carefully and thinks that this is a bit overwhelming. He introduces himself as Bong Ju-hyuk. Chu-heo's smile widens and he says warmly that, so it was there Mr. Ju-hyuk. He explains that he comes to the shop every single day and he wanted to get acquainted with the new face since he has never seen Ju-hyuk in here before. He asks what floor Ju-hyuk is currently climbing if it is not rude to ask. He himself is currently working through the 30s. Ju-hyuk hesitates and answers softly that he is in the 10s. Chu-heo-sok, without missing a beat, tells him that this is high level. The guy feels the internal sarcasm register somewhere but does not chase it. Chu-heos grins and tells him that if he has any difficulties while clearing, he should please ask him anything at any time. Ju-hyuk brightens. He thinks that this Chu-heos guy seems easygoing and kind. Chu-heos waves as he walks off and calls out that there is not really anything tough for himself yet, but if Ju-hyuk ever needs help, he should ask anything next time since Chu-heos comes here often. Then a cheerful see you again and he walks out into the light. Ju-hyuk watches him go and thinks that with a level like his, he probably has a girlfriend too. He is envious. Night falls over the building. Back home, Ju-hyuk pulls up his status window. Name Bong Ju-hyuk and affiliation Black Tower Korea, level 19. Traits summoning with simultaneous summons of 2. Catalog reads John Cossack and Dole Barbarian Meatball. Trait skills are designated summon and random summon and unsummon. General skills are enter tower once per day and tower exclusive inventory. Combat skills, Shadow Step. He whistles at his own reflection and mutters that this is a whopping level 19. Now he can challenge the 19th floor, but before that he thinks he should call Cossack and reach an agreement about it. He raises his bracelet. The system chimes back that John Cossack has been designated summoned. Cossack materializes with a triumphant bellow and thanks his summoner. Ju-hyuk holds up the new hand shield and announces that he bought a shield. Cossack stares at it. His eyes fill up with tears. He tells Ju-hyuk to look at this because our boy is enjoying this now and even bought himself a shield. He then asks Ju-hyuk with genuine feeling if he really has to do this. Ju-hyuk answers seriously that he plans to prioritize safety as much as possible. Kosak sniffs and says that the former summoner said that too. Our boy decides to just lay it out. He tells his assassin not to worry because he is a wimp and if the climbing gets tough he is giving up right away. Then he steadies his voice. He asks Kosak to please promise him one thing. No taking the lead alone and no charging in on his own. Kosak looks up startled and drops immediately to a full kneel. He promises he will do exactly that. Ju-hyuk adds calmly that if it gets really tough, Kosak should sacrifice him and Meatball to escape. Kosak nods gravely and answers that he understands. Ju-hyuk thinks privately that preferably it would be better to sacrifice Meatball instead of himself, but he keeps that one to himself. Kosak's nose twitches as he sniffs the air. He asks what this smell is. Ju-hyuk giggles and tells him that he bought king dumplings just to give to Kosak. Kosak drops to his knees again, sobbing that to think Ju-hyuk took care of him before someone like Meatball. He picks up a dumpling reverently and announces he will eat well. Then Kosak's whole body goes still mid-bite. His head lifts. He asks Ju-hyuk very quietly if he is there. Then with the low steady voice of a professional killer, he asks if there is perhaps anyone Ju-hyuk has a grudge against. Ju-hyuk with his mouth still full of dumpling mumbles a bewildered response that of course not. Kosak does not smile. He tells him plainly that there is someone outside, someone with overflowing killing intent. Ju-hyuk chokes down his mouthful. He repeats the words killing intent. He calls out toward the door with a hopeful hello. Kosak snaps at him to hide right now. Ju-hyuk squeaks and dives for cover. The energy barrier ripples to life around him, absorbing damage as designed. The first bullet hits the wall behind him with a hard crack. The second bounces off the barrier and clatters to the floor. Ju-hyuk curls up small in the shadow, shaking. A voice sings a cheerful greeting from somewhere near his door. The young man looks up. His whole world tilts sideways. It is the same friendly player from the shop. He stammers out that this is the person he saw at the player shop. Choi Ho-suk steps into the light with his gun raised and a completely different smile on his face. He asks if Ju-hyuk is surprised and calls him a loser. He says he had a hard time following Ju-hyuk here. Ju-hyuk trembles, still crouched, and tries to be diplomatic. He asks if that is a gun, please, and could Choi Ho-suk maybe just put the weapon away first. Choi Ho-suk snarls back, asking who said he could speak. He asks if Ju-hyuk wants to die. He then orders Ju-hyuk to take off his bracelet and open his inventory before Choi Ho-suk turns his head into a beehive. Our boy stares down the barrel of the gun with a white face. His voice comes out very small when he answers no. Choi Ho-suk's face darkens. A ghostly shape rises behind him, red-eyed and grinning. Choi Ho-suk snarls and asks if Ju-hyuk thinks this is a joke. Ju-hyuk stares up the gun barrel and thinks with cold clarity that this is basically suicide. Choi Ho-suk grins down at him, holding the pistol with steady hands. He asks if Ju-hyuk thinks this is a joke. He lets out an amused little laugh about how his target is freezing up just because he is holding a gun. He remarks that he really did pick someone good to prey on this time too. Losers like this, he says, always open up their inventory after a single smack. Then he starts telling Ju-hyuk to hurry up and open it. He never finishes the threat. A wet sound cuts him off. Blood spurts out of his mouth. He blinks dazed and then chokes out a shocked gasp. There was another one, he realizes. Behind him, John Kosak has already appeared without a sound and dropped the item broker face first into the floor. Ju-hyuk peeks out from behind his energy barrier and manages a shaky sound. He stands up on legs that feel like jelly and takes in the whole picture. The unconscious would-be robber and the abandoned gun and the assassin looking almost embarrassed. Then our boy's whole face lights up. He tells Kosak that he did great and he means it sincerely. Kosak blinks and asks what he means. Ju-hyuk explains, still slightly out of breath, that Kosak just knocked this guy out without killing him. He confesses that he was genuinely worried Kosak might kill the guy without reading the room again. Kosak's mind briefly protests the accusation and he nervously wonders to himself if he would ever do such a thing. The young man stares down at the man who nearly killed him and says out loud what he now understands. This guy must be an item broker. Item brokers are the ones who kill players who are no different from civilians when outside the tower and then strip their inventories. Ju Yuk quietly admits that he has heard of them. He remembers team leader John Guangil explaining that one of the main benefits of the elite team is personal protection outside the tower. Because players are just like civilians outside the tower, and out here in the ordinary world they can die like any regular person. Ju Yuk thinks about that with a small cold shiver. If he had not awakened this specific ability to summon people even from outside the tower, he would have been completely helpless in this apartment tonight. He would have died right here. Kosak, hunched over Choi Ho-suk with a familiar red ribbon looped through his fingers, admits out loud that he is realizing it all over again. This ability of Ju Yuk's really is a cheat. Then Kosak tilts his head toward the window and offers politely to just dispose of this guy outside. Ju Yuk very firmly tells him to leave the poor man alone and that they can just report him to the police. Kosak, still tying that ribbon into a graceful little bow, gently insists that there is really no need for that. If he just carries the body far away, it will be fine. The guy stares out at the glittering soul knight with a tired expression and says the same thing again. It is fine, and reporting is the easiest way. Kosak sighs in defeat. Meanwhile, across town at the Awakening Management Department, Director Park Kyung-soo is losing his mind. He roars at team leader John Guangil to please explain why player Bong stopped by the shop again. John bows apologetically and answers that it happened without him even knowing. Park demands to know what Ju Yuk actually bought. John reports that he reportedly purchased a small buckler. Park nearly rips his own scalp off, muttering that if only Ju Yuk had signed the elite contract already, he would have decked the boy out in gear from head to toe. Park then asks if they have identified player Bong's traits yet. Jun answers that judging by his purchase of a mace and a shield, they strongly suspect he is a melee type. Jun adds that if he is a melee type, even a full set of protective gear would not really be enough. He starts typing on his phone and mutters that he is going to make up some excuse to get player Bong a full set of armor, whether Ju Hyuk wants one or not. Just then, his phone lights up with an incoming call from the police player task force. Jun excuses himself politely to take the call. He answers formally and listens for a beat. His face turns to stone and then shifts to open horror. He shouts back into the phone asking what they just said. He is already out the door, sprinting through the streets and then up a staircase 2 at a time. He curses under his breath at every landing. He tells himself over and over that he should have signed the elite contract from the start. If anything has happened to player Bong tonight, he will not forgive himself. Choi Ho-suk being marched out in handcuffs, groaning. A police officer reads the charge. He tells Choi Ho-suk that he is under emergency arrest for home invasion and aggravated robbery. Choi Ho-suk, with blood still crusted at his mouth, wails that his head hurts and asks them to wait a minute because they are killing him. Then he does the thing every desperate criminal does. He looks pathetic and starts shrieking that he is innocent. He claims he was kidnapped by that guy over there and that he is the actual victim. The officer blinks at him with pure confusion and stammers that no, the other one is the one who broke in. Then the same officer, apologetic, tells Ju Hyuk that for now the homeowner needs to come along with them as well. Our boy goes white. He wails and drags his feet. He sees the title of his sad little tragedy floating over his head as he sits on a toilet in an orange uniform. He is fully dissociating. His panic spins out from there. He imagines himself in prison already. Then a voice cracks through the corridor telling everyone to wait a moment. Jun Guangil strides in with an outstretched hand. Ju Hyuk gasps out his name. Choi Ho-suk's eyes widen with hope. He tries to seize the moment and calls out that it is him. He asks if Jun came all the way from the department to save him. Jun walks up. Choi Ho-suk beams, still babbling that that guy over there kidnapped him and tried to steal his items. The slap that hits him next is loud enough to make everyone in the corridor flinch. Choi Ho-suk's head snaps sideways. Blood runs from his lip. He asks a very small confused sound into the air. Then he asks very quietly why the slap. Jun, looking down at him with pure fury, tells the item broker that he is a son of a bitch. How dare he lie? Another slap lands. Jun asks how he dared try to kill a fellow player. Choi Ho-suk tries again to plead that he is the victim. A third slap comes. Jun informs him coldly that his player registration is cancelled as of right now. He adds with quiet contempt that Choi Ho-suk himself is level 34, so why would he ever report a robbery? He punctuates it with another sharp slap. Choi Ho-seok coughs blood and begs him to please stop. He is thinking that Jun is not even listening to him at this point. Jun finally turns to the officers and orders calmly that they should take Choi Ho-seok away. He mentions offhand that the National Intelligence Service will be here soon, so they can just hand him over to them. The officer's face drops. He echoes the acronym with real fear. The NIS does not hesitate to use serious methods when it comes to player-related crimes. Choi Ho-seok is now trembling all the way to his shoes. He tries one last angle. He whimpers that he did not see things properly and asks them to please have mercy. Jun calls that out immediately. He asks Choi Ho-seok if he thinks he is the first person Jun has seen do exactly this kind of thing. He is a repeat offender. They will uncover everything he has ever done. Then he tells him coldly to go find a lawyer. Not that any lawyer would even step up for him. Jun turns to the officers with a professional smile and asks if they know the player arrest manual. The officers stammer that no, they do not. Jun explains matter-of-factly that if Choi Ho-seok tries to escape into the tower during transport and disappears, they should not worry about it at all. He will reappear in the exact same spot when he comes back out. Choi Ho-seok is now openly sobbing that he will not do it again. Jun's face softens all at once when he turns to Ju-hyuk. He asks very quietly if player Bong is hurt anywhere. The young man is standing behind him at this point, thinking that this man's face is genuinely scary. He manages to squeak out that he was just a little surprised. Then Jun says his name with real weight and bows deeply. He tells him that he is truly sorry. He promises that to ensure this never ever happens again, he will make sure to prepare thoroughly. His inner thought comes through in a low, determined mutter. He cannot delay the elite contract any longer. He must protect player Bong. Back home the next morning, Ho-seok pops up above Ju-hyuk's shoulder cheerfully and asks if anything else happened yesterday. Ju-hyuk tells him casually that all thanks to Ho-seok the police took that guy away yesterday. Ho-seok's eyes light up hopefully, and he asks if it is the death penalty. Ju-hyuk tells him firmly no way. Ho-seok goes quiet for a moment and then asks if Ju-hyuk happens to know the location of the detention center. Our boy pulls on his hoodie and tells him that he does not know, and please do not even try to find out. Ho-seok sighs. The next system window shows up. The barbarian Meatball has been designated summoned. Meatball materializes on the floor of the apartment and immediately notices the little tray of platinum badges Ju-hyuk has been collecting. He picks each one up with reverent care, counting on his massive fingers and muttering about 5 stars. Then he holds up all his fingers plus his toes and declares in wonder that this is 57 of them. It is his very first time seeing this many stars. Ju-hyuk pats him on the arm and asks if they should go then. The system chimes in that they are now entering Black Tower, Korea 19th floor. The mission is to defeat 30 goblin shamans. The guy explains to his summons that the 19th floor is a bit of a breather. It has goblin shamans, and honestly they are not very threatening. A little purple-robed shaman with a bent staff shuffles into view. Ju-hyuk continues that these guys cannot use any impressive attack magic. At most it is curses and binds, or weak fire arrows. He does add in fairness that curses can be a bit dangerous. But really, what is there to actually worry about here? The shamans cackle a chorus of sounds. Purple curse energy latches onto Meatball's shoulders like clinging smoke. Meatball tilts his head, mildly annoyed, and lets out one furious roar. The curse blows away in a wave of golden pressure. Ju-hyuk stares with his jaw a little open and mutters that Meatball just cleared a curse purely with the sound of his own voice. Such a brute method, he thinks quietly. Ho-seok darts past him with a small grin and calls out to Meatball as he goes. He asks his partner if he remembers what he told him earlier and adds that they should clear this floor as fast as physically possible. Meatball, already glowing gold, answers steadily that he remembers and he will clear them all. What follows is a 2-man speedrun. Ho-seok slices through shaman lines with clean black blade cuts. Meatball tramples the rest under sheer barbarian mass with robes flying and staves shattering. Ju-hyuk stands off to the side with his mace and new hand shield raised. His mouth is open and he cheerfully starts to say that then he will also join in. The system chimes politely over his head. Mission on the 19th floor complete. Ju-hyuk's shield thunks softly against his knee. He blinks. He asks the empty air what and if it is done already. Cossack turns to him with a huge sweaty smile and asks how that was and if it was refreshing. Our boy narrows his eyes and thinks with growing suspicion that these two absolutely finished this on purpose so he could not fight. He mutters that he has been had. The system rolls in a happier notification anyway. S++ rank achieved for the 19th floor of Black Tower, Korea. 1 platinum badge has been awarded. That is 58 badges now. The next day the party walks into the 20th floor. Long-awaited Joo-hyuk mutters. He explains to himself that the 20th floor is also known as the Talent Evaluator, and it is rated as having an atrocious difficulty. Cossack takes over the briefing. He tells Joo-hyuk that it is extremely dangerous here because every type of goblin appears at once. Scouts shooting poison needles and max-level tactical warriors, and stealthed assassins appearing from nowhere, and shamans casting curses and huge hobgoblins. Joo-hyuk shrinks into a small version of himself and admits that it is scary. Cossack tells him gently that if he were the summoner he would just wait in a safe place. Meatball nods along and rumbles his own version of the same idea. He tells Joo-hyuk plainly that summoner should do nothing and Meatball will kill all. The system spells the mission out for them. 20th floor mission is to defeat 100 goblins of any type and 1 hobgoblin. Time limit is 10 hours. Failure condition is death or mission abandonment. The young man stares up at both of his big protective summons and thinks silently that these two are blocking his path and fighting while leaving him out of it again. Cossack, already stretching, tells Meatball to draw the aggro first and he will move in during the opening. Meatball nods and roars back that he draws all aggro. Meatball charges the goblin ranks with tribal tattoos flaring gold. Cossack blurs after him with his black blade already drawn, slicing his way through the first wave. And somewhere behind them both our boy's face darkens into a deeply unimpressed expression. He thinks with growing fury that these two honestly believe he will just sit back and take this again. Cossack picks up on the killing intent behind him and turns his head with a puzzled look. Blue light flashes at the edge of his vision. Joo-hyuk activates Shadow Step. He blazes past the assassin in a streak of blue with mace raised and shield forward. He shouts back over his shoulder that he is going on ahead. Meatball's eyes bulge in shock. A hobgoblin the size of a small building turns to face the tiny incoming player. Joo-hyuk's foot lands squarely against the hobgoblin's face with his mace crashing down beside it. The whole world seems to hang in the air for one impossible frozen breath. Meatball freezes in place with his jaw slack. Cossack mid-slash whispers to himself in stunned horror that he did it. He shouts louder that Joo-hyuk went and did it. Then the panic hits him all at once and he screams for Summoner Bong. His voice cracks as our boy hangs mid-air over the biggest and worst goblin on the entire floor. Before the fighting starts, the story drifts back into memory because our boy has always been the kind of person who fades into the background. Bong Joo-hyuk has been introverted since he was small. At daycare, when a bigger kid grabbed the toy car out of his hands, he just watched them play with it. He told himself there were other toys anyway. In elementary school, it got worse because his family was poor. His clothes were shabby and his shoes were falling apart, and everyone knew he lived in the oldest, most run-down villa on the block. Not many classmates wanted to be paired with the villa kid. Middle school was more of the same, with everyone laughing about bronze rank and metapics while he sat quietly to the side. In high school, he ate lunch alone every day and being left out felt normal and almost restful. He was, in his own words, a complete social outcast. Even the thought of trying to change any of it made his stomach knot, which is what makes the whole tower thing so absurd to him. Someone like Joo-hyuk, who could not even meet a delinquent's eyes on the street, is now fighting monsters for a living. He never once imagined this life. But monsters, as he keeps reminding himself, are not people and cannot talk. There is no history with them and no eye contact to avoid and no fear that comes from any kind of relationship. They are just quest mobs you smack until they drop loot. He just has to crush them and cash the reward. That reasoning is what carries him into the 20th floor. This is the notorious talent check floor where every kind of goblin turns up at once and a hobgoblin waits at the end. Cossack, of course, is screaming at him the whole time, begging him to please stay behind Meatball and do nothing. Our boy does the opposite. Shadow Step unfolds under him, and he blinks in and out of goblin blind spots, cracking shaman skulls with the adamant mace. Cossack yells at him to watch out. Meatball plants himself between his summoner and the swarm. Without the energy shield, the young man admits to himself he would already be a pincushion. But the shield holds and the shadows keep sliding him around. For a moment, Ju-Yuk stops being scared and starts being terrifyingly free. He even lets slip that he might have gotten a little carried away right before a shaman almost lands a curse, and he cries out for help. Cossack shouts back at him to keep pushing toward the cliff, and Meatball roars that the summoner must be protected. The barbarian smashes through goblin bodies. Ju-Yuk pants that his stamina is running out and asks if they are there yet. Then he catches the sound behind him. The deep grinding roar that only a boss makes. It is the long-legged idol of the short-legged goblins and the final evolution of their whole miserable tribe. Meatball answers his summoner shout with a battle cry. In a single ugly instant, the massive barbarian and the silent assassin land on the hobgoblin together and end it. The system chimes in with completion and level up and mana stones and a tower-exclusive healing potion and yet another S++ platinum badge. He keeps his voice low so nothing leaks. Ju-Yuk's father, Bong Suchoel, had hip surgery a few months back after slipping on ice and is stuck in rehabilitation. Park's solution is instant. Refer him to the best rehab hospital in the country and fully paid. Ju-Yuk's younger brother Bong Min-hyuk is a college freshman heading for military enlistment, so a scholarship will do the job neatly. Then John lowers his voice and says the real person they need to handle carefully is the mother Hongum-ja. She was fired from her water purifier job after tearing into an abusive customer who tried to make her clean their trash. She has by far the strongest voice in that household. Her husband and both sons can barely squeak in her presence. Park's grin sharpens as he orders the plan executed. He tells Jun to spare no support and to use every scrap of the department's authority to bring player Bong in. Back at the apartment, the delivery arrives. 12 orders of tangzuyuk and 12 bowls of jajangmyeon with Cossack and Meatball hidden out of sight. The delivery uncle chuckles that Ju-Yuk must be having a party and tosses in one measly serving of fried dumplings as a bonus. Only one. The guy stares at the bag and thinks bitterly that one dumpling serving is a little stingy, but he already knows he will not say a word. Even the coupons that should have come with the order are missing, and he does not say anything about that either. In the tower, he cracks goblin skulls with a mace. Out here, he cannot even ask for a coupon. Meatball devours plate after plate, while Ju-Hyuk finally opens his inventory and calls up the 20th platinum badge to see what the new perk is. The system flashes at him. His hair lifts and his eyes go wide. The words hit him when the system announces that his perk is one random box. Our boy stares at the shimmering thing in front of him. The only thing his brain can produce is a stunned, disbelieving echo of what he just read. A random box. The random box sits in front of Bong Ju-Yuk, glowing gold with a question mark on every side. The loot table it comes with is enormous. 3 items get drawn at random from a stupidly generous pool. There are mana stones and tower herbs and monster leather and potions and elixirs. There are weapons and armor and accessories. Then combat skills and level up runes and tower jumping tickets and cooldown resets and trait enhancement runes and summoner grade up runes. And at the top end sits a grade confirmation summon ticket that guarantees an SR or SSR or LSSR pull. Our boy takes one look at the wall of text and lets out a small strangled cry. He wonders out loud why there are so many types. He decides to just skim through them. Mana stones and herbs and metals feel underwhelming to him. Weapons and armor are not that great either. He puzzles through the level up rune and realizes it raises his level without moving him up a floor. That is way better than tower jumping tickets that skip floors and skip his rewards along with them. The multinational access ticket sounds fun, but the best one obviously is the grade confirmation summon ticket. He imagines himself as some tourist on a Black Tower sightseeing tour. 3 items at random means there has to be a chance. Ju-Yu clasps his hands and mutters that if he gets something good, he swears he will live a virtuous life. Then he opens the box. The first prize spills into his inventory as 10 kilograms of mana stones, and he deflates a little at the sight. It is basically a dud since he can pick up mana stones anytime, though he reminds himself it is still worth 5 million won. The second prize is where things get interesting. A skill called Primordial Thunderstaff registers itself in his status window. His eyes widen at the very wuxia-flavored name of the thing. It is an attack skill and he decides he will check it later. And the third prize hits him hard when Summon Grade Up rune drops into his hands. The young man freezes and then throws his hands up in a stunned grin. This is straight up jackpot. It is a rune that raises a summon's rank one full step decided by that summon's potential. The problem is which of the two idiots in his apartment gets it. Kosak and Meatball are still shoveling food into their mouths at the table. Ju-Yuk thinks about how many bowls of jjajangmyeon they have all shared, and reluctantly lands on Kosak, though he pauses to wonder if Meatball actually ate more. Either way, he will call Kosak over separately later, since bringing it up now would just start a fight. Before that, he wants to test the new skill. Primordial Thunderstaff is a growth type with 3 forms in total. The first form is called Soul-Chasing Thunderbolt, and it is a simple vertical strike. The moment he unlocks it, the entire technique of using it drops into his brain like a downloaded file. He grabs his mace, implants his feet, and roars the skill name, but nothing happens at all. No lightning and no crackle and not even a good whoosh. Outside the tower, skills and levels do not apply, and he does not have any mana anyway. He tells himself that is actually a good thing. If players could use their tower powers in the real world, guys like Choi Hozuk would have burned the country down already. Kosak, who has watched this whole mace-swinging routine in the middle of the studio, asks in a small, nervous voice if that was by any chance an attack skill. Jo-Yuk beams and confirms it. He adds cheerfully that it is growth type too. Kosak's face crumples. Meatball chooses this exact moment to slurp down the last bowl of noodles. That sets Kosak off screaming that it was his bowl and threatening to boil the meat shield in a pot. Meatball answers calmly that a warrior does not spit. The guy unsummons them both before the neighbors call the police. The next day, our boy sits on the floor thinking through what Kosak is actually worried about. His trait summoning is the kind of build where the summons do most of the fighting. The player barely has to lift a finger. Especially for an irregular like him, who can call summons even in reality, the sensible thing is to hide behind the meat shield and grow strong quietly. And somewhere in a parallel universe, another version of him supposedly awakened this exact same trait and called Kosak the exact same way and then died. That summoner must have been stronger than Ju-Hyuk is now and decked out in perks from head to toe. And still, that world was destroyed. It makes sense that Kosak panics every time danger gets close. Even so, Ju-Hyuk is a person too. He just started tasting what it feels like to be a real man, and he refuses to give it up. Both summons obey him absolutely, so persuading them should work. He summons Meatball and Kosak together. It does not go well at all. Kosak shows up looking grim and announces that an attack skill on top of everything else might turn out to be poison. Kosak shows up looking grim and announces that an attack skill on top of everything else might turn out to be poison. Then he activates Summon Principle Article 3, which is the clause that lets a summon override orders to protect the summoner's life. Ju-Hyuk squeaks that this had better not mean tying him up. The moment he checks, Meatball is already looming behind him with those tree trunk arms wide open and grinning. The two of them clearly conspired together. Backed into a corner, our boy launches his ultimate move. He puts on wobbly lips and sad eyes and begs Kosak to please give him this one. He swears he will take it easy from now on. Kosak says he cannot trust that. Ju-Hyuk swears on everything he owns that he will not run out alone ever again. He just says that standing around doing nothing is boring, so surely he can catch just one orc slowly and carefully. Kosak thinks it over and then agrees on one condition. He guards from the side, and the second anything looks dangerous, he intervenes. Ju-Hyuk shouts deal and slaps his hand into Kosak's. They enter the 21st floor, and this section is orcs from here on. Kosak notes they are stupid but still smarter than Meatball. Meatball loudly disputes this before being told to shut up. In the safe zone, Ju-Hyuk insists on 10 practice swings before the mission starts. That is when Kosak turns to Meatball and tells him to kneel in front of the summoner. He cheerfully offers him up as a practice dummy. Meatball agrees at once and informs his summoner that he may strike, since a warrior does not feel pain. The young man stares at both of them in silent horror and finally snaps that if they keep this up, he is charging in alone right now. Both of the idiots immediately go quiet. He decides he would rather try the skill on an actual orc anyway. The mission then triggers with 30 forest orcs to defeat in 4 hours. Kosak and Meatball crash forward together, and our boy hangs back like he promised. Meatball charges forward at incredible speed, flattening the orcs with his punches. Meanwhile, Cossack cuts through them as if he is slicing fruit. The problem is they mow the orcs down so fast that at this rate the fight will be over before he even swings once. He silently begs Cossack to save him a target. Cossack, ever helpful, cuts one orc away from the pack and shoves it in Juyuk's direction with a look that clearly asks if this one will do. Juyuk uses Shadow Step to charge forward at incredible speed. The orc swings back, but its attack misses, allowing him to leap high into the air. Johyu calls the first form of Primordial Thunderstaff, Soul-Chasing Thunderbolt, a simple vertical strike. He plants his feet and mana pours into the mace, and he brings it down on the orc's crown in a single roaring drop of light. The whole clearing lights up, and the power behind that one clean strike, when it lands, is absolutely not weak. The forest orc drops in a single flash of blue-white lightning, and Bong Juyuk stands over the corpse holding his mace. His grin says it all. This was too easy. His eyes light up, and he swings around, already scanning for the next target. That is when Cossack rockets in from the side, hissing that our boy already agreed to catch just one. Whatever fun he was planning gets snapped shut on the spot. The system chimes in with the 21 stats floor completion and a level up and a couple kilos of mana stones and a tower-exclusive healing potion. Then another S++ platinum badge lands in his inventory. From there, the days fold into each other. The next day, one desert orc and another S++ on the 22nd floor. The day after that, one cave orc in the pitch-black tunnels and another S++ on the 23rd. Then a volcanic orc on scorched red ground, which Juyuk admits was slightly harder to bag, but he manages it and picks up his S++ for the 24th floor. 1 floor per day and 1 kill per day. That is the rhythm. With Cossack fighting in the front and Meatball smashing everything else, there really is nothing left standing in their way. The morning of the 25th floor, Juyuk wakes up grinning at the ceiling because the long-awaited talent test floor is finally in front of him. Only killing one at a time still feels like a tease, but for now he needs to keep building Cossack's trust. Then he pauses because something has been quietly nagging at him. Come to think of it, he has never actually given his 2 summons a proper gift the whole time they have been with him. He should hand over a rune while he is at it. He calls Cossack in, and the assassin snaps to attention with his usual shout and asks why the summoner is bothering him on a rest day. The young man plays it casual and says he picked something up on the way. He tosses him the Summon Grade Up rune. Cossack goes completely still on the spot. His eyes trace the rune, and then the description, and then the rune again. He lands on the words Grade Increase. Our boy watches his face crumple with pure emotion as Cossack chokes out that if he uses this thing, he will rank up to SSR. He says he is truly and honestly overwhelmed. He clutches the rune to his chest and cries that he will be able to protect Summoner Bong even better now. Juyuk feels warm just looking at him. Cossack turns the rune down for immediate use though, because rushing a rank up is dangerous. He says he will do it tonight after he leaves, and then he will come back tomorrow with a completely new look. Since he is already summoned, Juyuk tells him to relax a bit before heading out. Cossack cheerfully grabs the remote and starts blazing through channels at a suspicious speed. Juyuk tells him to just stop somewhere and watch on demand. Cossack asks if that is expensive, which sets Juyuk off complaining about what exactly Cossack is even saving that money for. Then his eyes catch something on the screen. He barks at Cossack to go back a channel, then back more, and finally stop right there. It is a news broadcast, and the woman being interviewed in front of a placard is his mother, Hong Gimja herself. The guy's brain stalls out for a full second. Why is mom on the news? The broadcast cuts to her voice. She talks straight into the camera, calm and controlled, and unloads the whole ugly story. She could not take the unfair contract termination anymore. She was a purifier maintenance technician sent out to service someone's home. On her way out, the customer had ordered her to take out their recycling and food waste. When she pushed back, the company told her she was the one who had to apologize. She refused because she had not done a single thing wrong. What she got in return was a contract termination notice. She stood alone in front of that headquarters for over 10 days holding her sign, and all she earned in that time was mocking laughter from company executives walking past. Then she turns her chin up and warns them that the next time one of them dares laugh, she is going to ram right into them. Just as she says that, a well-dressed man steps up beside her and asks if she is Miss Hong Gumja, she whips around ready to fight, thinking he is another executive here to jeer at her, but the man just bows and thanks her for her hard work. He introduces himself as attorney Lee Chung-suk from Park and Kim law firm. Her mouth actually falls open. Park and Kim is the biggest law firm in Korea and the one that represents major corporations and Awakens administration matters. She snaps upright and demands to know if the company is trying to sue her because she is not backing down. Attorney Lee raises his hands and asks her to please calm down. Actually, he says he came for the opposite reason. He wants Park and Kim to formally sue Jinsamul Corporation on her behalf and free of charge for everything. She stares at him in stunned silence. He explains gently that she filed a petition with the labor office and word of it reached him through a public servant he knows. He tells her not to worry and that this is a project for the socially disadvantaged that his firm conducts every year. She weighs him for a long moment and decides it does not smell wrong. She finally sighs that she has come this far, so she might as well go all in. She entrusts the defense to him. He grins and snaps his fingers and asks if they should start with the media work. Reporters swarm her from every direction and cameras click all around her. Attorney Lee coaches her to speak in detail and leave nothing out and spill the whole truth so the country can see it. Back in his studio, Joo-yuk sits on the floor with his head in his hands. He had no idea Mom was suffering that badly doing a one-person protest alone. What is the point of having two sons if neither of them can help her at a moment like this? He is an unfilial son. But there is a second thought pushing in behind the guilt, and it is suspicious. How did Mom get a lawyer from Park and Kim? A few pennies would not be nearly enough for a firm like that. Kosak, always ready to be helpful, offers to go pay Jinsamul Corporation a personal visit and clean the whole thing up. Joo-yuk cuts him off immediately. Mom already has a solid lawyer. He will send her legal fees later out of his Mana Stone savings and sell the energy barrier kit if he has to. Then his phone starts ringing on the low table and it is his father calling. Dad opens with the news and tells Joo-yuk not to worry because Mom's lawyer is somehow free. Joo-yuk mumbles that he already saw it and was actually about to send lawyer money. His father laughs and asks where he would even get that kind of money. He tells him to focus on working well. Then Dad drops something else. He got a call today from Isbong Hospital. Their orthopedics department is running a hip surgery rehab project and he was selected. Hospitalization and rehabilitation both completely free. Isbong Hospital is Korea's best hospital owned by a conglomerate. Our boy stares at the wall while his dad cheerfully tells him not to worry about his parents. It is a good thing, obviously, but something about it is a little bit strange. The phone barely leaves his ear before it rings again, and this time it is Min-hyuk on the line. Something about the whole family lining up on the same day feels off. His brother launches straight into it. He asks if Joo-yuk saw Mom's interview. Yeah, he did just now. Min-hyuk snarls into the phone about those people at the company. He had thought he was going to explode. So he wants to send Mom his whole allowance to help with lawyer fees. Joo-hyuk asks if Min-hyuk does not need that money for a laptop. Min-hyuk laughs and says he is actually fine because he just landed a scholarship this time, a really big one and enough for tuition and a laptop. Joo-hyuk's voice cools as he asks where the scholarship came from. Min-hyuk answers cheerfully with the answer that is about to break something in Joo-hyuk's chest. A national scholarship from the Awakening Management Department. Apparently they give out a lot of those. That is when the whole thing finally clicks in his head. It was not the heavens smiling on the family. Mom's lawyer and Dad's hospital and Min-hyuk's scholarship, every single thing on the list. It is all the work of the Awakening Management Department. Park and Kim represents player affairs. Isbong Hospital is one of the biggest Mana Stone buyers in the country, and the scholarship is straight up an AMD program. The young man sits alone in his apartment, staring at the AMD building through his window. He picks up the phone and dials team leader Jun Gwang-il. He asks if the team leader has time to meet somewhere quiet. Jun says of course and that he will come pick him up. They will have a meal together. They end up in a quiet Korean set meal place with private rooms. Before the food even arrives, Joo-hyuk lays it on the table. He asks why Jun did it. Jun asks what he means. Joo-hyuk lists them out one by one. Mom's lawsuit and father's hospital and his brother's scholarship. The team leader does not try to lie. He answers simply that it was absolutely necessary. Joo-hyuk snaps back that he cannot even hide it. Jun says gently that if there are troubles at home, worry follows, and that worry would bleed into Joo-hyuk's tower clears. Our boy leans in over the table. Even so, without consulting him even once? And besides, is that kind of care not only for the elite team, he is still on a general contract. In answer, John calmly places a fresh document on the table between the empty plates. Its header reads, Ultra Elite Contract Special Management Subject. Then the team leader looks up at him with a smile and says that if that is the problem, they can sign him right now into an elite team contract. Jo-hyuk freezes with his chopsticks halfway to his mouth and sweat beading on his forehead. The only sound our boy can push out is a stunned, quiet pardon. Team leader Jung Gwang-il sits across from Bong Joo-hyuk in the quiet Korean set meal room with his hands folded. He pushes the paper closer and says they can sign him right now into an elite team contract. Our boy chokes on his own breath and thinks that this guy really came prepared. He tries the smallest possible protest and says he is not confident yet, and his talent is not exactly great either. Jun stands up slightly with his gaze sharpening and asks if Joo-hyuk truly and sincerely believes that, even after setting an unprecedented record. Joo-hyuk has nothing to say to that. Coming from a player with consecutive S++ clears through the 24th floor, false modesty would just sound like a bad joke. Jun steps back from the table and presses his hands flat against his thighs and bows so deeply his head is almost at plate height. He earnestly begs of him. Joo-hyuk stammers that the team leader does not have to do this, but Jun keeps his head down and pushes the next argument in. Did Joo-hyuk not just go through that horrible incident with Choi Ho-suk? He asks him to please join the elite team and receive the treatment he deserves because he is more than qualified for it. The young man sits there in silence with a mouthful of things he cannot defend. Finally, he begs the team leader to please just sit back down because he is embarrassed. The young man sits there in silence with a mouthful of things he cannot defend. Finally, he begs the team leader to please just sit back down because he is embarrassed. Joo-hyuk still resists on the filming issue. Having someone stuck to him around the clock would be miserable, and he really does not want his clears to be filmed. That last part is one of the biggest reasons he has been ducking the elite contract from the start. If a recording button ever glows red anywhere near him, then Cossack and Meatball get exposed to the whole country and his life turns into an even bigger circus. Jean waves that concern away without missing a beat. He says the video recording can be handled however Joo-hyuk wishes and the security arrangement can be adjusted as much as he likes. Joo-hyuk says oh and gets suddenly interested in how exactly they plan to adjust it. John lays out the whole arrangement. Joo-hyuk can spend his usual days living alone in a highly secure residence. He will only receive protection when he is outside doing business, and if he wants bodyguards can be assigned to his family too. Joo-hyuk visibly starts to sway on his knees. Then internally he shouts at himself to hold on and not waver. That is the moment John picks to drop the finisher. Upon signing the elite contract, they will immediately provide 2 full houses, one for his family and one for player Bong himself. The guy stares at him for a long second and thinks that there is absolutely no way to refuse this. His head fills with floor plans and imaginary living rooms. He asks, half-dazed, if it is really okay to decide something this quickly. Jean smiles at him and says his expression already accepted. He does not need to worry about approval because the team leader came here with full authority granted by the commissioner. All Joo-hyuk needs to do is sign right here. Our boy actually reaches for the pen. Then some tiny stubborn corner of his brain snaps awake and he blurts out for the team leader to wait a minute. John's face falls in real regret because they were so close. Joo-hyuk asks for a little more time, just enough to get some advice before deciding. John answers gracefully that of course he will wait. The next day back in the studio apartment, Joo-hyuk designates and summons the assassin. The room fills with searing purple light. The special super rare assassin has arrived. Our boy shrieks and covers his eyes because the glow is blinding. Inside the aura, Cossack strikes a pose in brand new SSR robes with his usual smug grin. The system confirms it clean, SR to SSR grade upgrade complete. Joo-hyuk demands he change back to something less painful to look at, and Cossack chirps in agreement with total loyalty. Once the sparkles die down, Joo-hyuk actually admits it looks pretty cool. Cossack immediately asks if Joo-hyuk is not going to call Meatball too, and giggles at the new nickname he just invented for him. Joo-hyuk explains he called Cossack alone this time because he needs to discuss something. Cossack sighs sagely that of course he should, since it would be impossible to have a proper conversation with Meatball anyway. The young man lays the whole story out. Yesterday he met the team leader from the Awakening Management Department and he received an offer. So now he is debating whether he should stay on the general contract or accept the elite team offer. He asks what Kosak thinks about it all. Kosak thinks for exactly 1 second and then puts his hand up to declare he is fully in favor. He says Summoner Bong is a player of national power level and he must receive the treatment he deserves. Juhyuk pushes back nervously with a worried look. He asks if it will really be okay. If he joins the elite team, he might have to climb to the 60th floors, or who knows how much higher than that. Kosak answers that it is absolutely possible. Juhyuk then vows to train hard too so he can be maximum help. Kosak cuts him off with a flat nope. It is enough for Summoner Bong to just live a long life. The summoner's safety is the power itself. Juhyuk protests that even so he wants to help. Kosak gets serious. In the space where Kosak existed before being summoned, there were plenty of legend and SSR-grade summoned beings. As long as Summoner Bong stays safe, one day he will be able to call all of them. They will all practice absolute obedience to him. Order it, and they shall do it as long as it does not violate the third principle. Juhyuk's mouth is already open when Kosak drops the next tier. There are also demigod-level monsters that transcend the status of humans, and one day he will be able to summon those too. Our boy stares at nothing, whispering that he cannot even dare to imagine that. He asks if he would not be able to summon that kind of unranked existence right now. Kosak confirms that right now he cannot, but later when his summon ability grows, he will be able to do it. So please, Kosak tells him, live for a long time and just consistently do the random summons. That is Summoner Bong's ultimate skill and lethal move. Since the random summon cooldown is roughly a month, that is 12 draws a year. If good items drop even more than that, of course it is all for nothing if he does not get lucky with his pulls, but the math is the math. Juhyuk checks the timer on his status window and it reads 19 days, 10 hours, 17 minutes, 8 seconds until the next random summon. Then Kosak lifts one finger and tells him to make one firm demand of the team leader. Limbing uncleared floors must be decided solely by Summoner Bong with no outside interference. He says to make sure to lock that condition down. Juhyuk blinks at him. Kosak's face darkens with a memory he clearly does not want to explain. Otherwise, he warns all kinds of people will throw a fit asking why Juhyuk is not climbing the uncleared upper floors. And then in an unprepared state, something terrible could happen. Something painful has come to Kosak's mind. He wipes his eye and adds firmly that Juhyuk must never be dragged along against his will. Otherwise, receiving state support is a good thing. Juhyuk quietly thanks him for the opinion. He then designates and summons Meatball, who materializes into the room and bows to Juhyuk with his usual line about absolutely obeying the summoner. Kosak, still glowing purple, wheels on him and demands to know where his own greeting is. Meatball answers plainly that a warrior does not greet just anyone. Kosak loses his composure and squawks out the words just anyone. He tells Meatball that he is an SSR, which stands for Special and Super and Rare. There are 2 whole S letters attached in front of the R, unlike a measly little R. Meatball tries to answer back that the assassin is being bad, but Kosak shuts him down. Juhyuk watches in mild amazement because even dull Meatball is walking on eggshells around a 2-grade gap. He makes a mental note that the next summon grade up rune he pulls is going straight to Meatball. They enter the 25th floor together and the mission window drops in front of them. Defeat 100 orcs of any type and 1 orc great chieftain within 10 hours. Juhyuk mutters at the sheer scope of the fight ahead. Kosak strikes a pose against the wind on a low cliff with his cape swirling. He asks with theatrical warmth if they should loosen up to celebrate the SSR. He orders Meatball to go first and pull some aggro. Meatball grins ear to ear and roars that he will eat all aggro. Then he charges straight at the orc formation and starts smashing. The orcs turn on him just like the plan called for with red eyes, fixing on the barbarian dead center in the line. That is the cue Kosak has been waiting for. He launches from the cliff and slams into the middle of the pack in a burst of blue light. What follows is a show reel of everything a freshly ranked up SSR assassin can do. His first move is Blade Explosion, and it is a core detonation that catches half the surrounding orcs in the shockwave. Juhyuk stares wide-eyed, thinking that this is not just a simple blade explosion anymore. Then the orcs launch a counterattack, hurling their spears straight at Kosak. The spears pierce right through his body. Seeing that, the orcs grin in triumph, but then they realize something isn't right. Next comes Despicable Ambush, where Cossack blinks behind a stunned orc and buries a dagger in its back, then Poison Dagger as he grins into the swarm and flicks blades through 6 of them at once. And finally Shadow Step, the same one he used before but sharper now. He splits his silhouette across the battlefield so that every orc trying to track him ends up chasing an afterimage. Our boy watches from the safe perimeter with his mace hanging from one hand. He can hear Cossack's words from the apartment still ringing in his head. It is enough for Summoner Bong to live a long life. The summoner's safety is power itself. He did hear that, sure. But something inside him pushes back. Before the whole swarm gets cleared, he needs to move too. He has to grow up fast. Fast enough so that everyone who worries about him can finally be at ease. Cossack and Meatball and his mother and his father and his brother. All of them. Lightning gathers in a golden crackle around his mace, and his eyes ignite in the same warm gold. Ju-Yuk plants his feet and dives into the fight of his own free will. Bong Ju-Yuk stands on the outer edge of the 25-feet floor battlefield holding his mace. Behind him, Cossack is cutting through the orc formation with terrifying speed. Our boy watches for one long second and then makes a promise to himself. He cannot rely on Cossack forever. He needs to grow strong too. Meatball roars nearby with his fist raised and charges another orc pile. That is when Ju-Yuk finally moves. He lifts his mace and calls the technique out loud as Primordial Thunderstaff first form. He brings Soul-Chasing Thunderbolt down on the nearest orc's crown. The strike drops the target in a spray of purple gold light and the orc dies before its knees even understand what happened. The rhythm takes over from there. Shadow Step blurs him from one blind spot to the next, while orcs swing at afterimages. He crashes into another and another. Somewhere in the middle of that dance, his status window pings with an unlock. Primordial Thunderstaff second form has been registered and it is called Scattered Falling Thunder. Ju-Yuk beams at the message because he already knows how to use this form too. The technique dropped straight into his head the same way the first one did. He grins at the meaning behind the name. He faces down a small group of orcs that just realized what kind of technique this is. He raises the mace above his head and calls the second form. Lightning splits into 5 branches and hunts 5 orcs at once, dropping them together in a single crackling instant. It is an area attack, and our boy grins to himself with a giddy little laugh. Cossack turns from across the field with his jaw hanging open. He asks if there was suddenly an orc that could use lightning here. Then he actually spots Ju-Yuk at the center of it all, and his face crumples into a shout that carries across the whole map. He hollers the name Summoner Bong at the top of his lungs. Cossack rushes over in a purple streak and scolds him at full volume. He says Ju-Yuk should not be getting so excited just because a new skill unlocked. He reminds him that they agreed on exactly 1 kill per floor. The young man shrinks under the noise and manages a small oops and then a smaller sorry. Then something inside him quietly turns sideways. Why is he apologizing to an entity he himself summoned? Why does he have to walk on eggshells around Cossack and Meatball forever? He tells himself firmly that he may be a wimp outside, but inside the tower he is a total alpha male. Cossack, blinking at the sudden change in energy, tries a gentle safety-first reminder. Ju-Yuk cuts him off with a wave. Safety first, enough of that. Just let the orc great chieftain come out already. He will run right up to that thing and smash its head open himself. In that exact second, the ground thumps. Something enormous is stomping toward them. A monstrous orc chieftain bigger than Meatball and wrapped in tattoos and dragging an axe the size of its own torso strolls into the arena. Our boy's face freezes mid-grin. He really was not expecting the boss to actually come out right away. He turns on his heel and sprints in the exact opposite direction of the chieftain. He screams for Cossack at the top of his lungs. Cossack dashes to his side with a bright, cheerful expression that says everything without saying anything. Ju-Yuk pants that he should have listened to Cossack earlier. He orders him to please get rid of that orc chieftain right now. Cossack grins at him and tells him to leave it to the both of them. Meatball plants himself in front of Ju-Yuk with a solemn vow to protect the summoner. Cossack calls out to Meatball and says they should go. The barbarian rears back and gathers golden aura around his fist and launches an uppercut into the chieftain's jaw that lifts the enormous body off the ground. While the chieftain is still airborne, Cossack blinks in behind it with Despicable Ambush and buries his dagger in a fatal spot. The system chimes in clean with the completion messages one after another. Mission complete on the 25th floor. Level up, 2.5 kilos of mana stones. S++ clear rank. Another platinum badge. Permission to challenge the 26th floor. Outside the tower, the perk window opens with a new option. Perks are granted for accumulating 25 platinum badges. Juhi waits with quiet hope for what pops up next. The message hits him with a real jolt. The perk is one encore perk that may be selected. Guy blinks at the word encore. The follow-up window unfolds with the choices in front of him. Selectable encore perks are trait enhancement and skill copy and random item and summon grade enhancement. His grin splits his face at what an absurd windfall this whole thing is. Then, of course, obviously he picks trait enhancement without a second of hesitation. Awakening trait has been enhanced. He would have to be an idiot to choose anything else. He pulls up his status window to check. Simultaneous summons has climbed from 2 to 3. If he counts himself joining the fight, that is a 4-man party from here on. And the random summon cooldown has 18 days left. Somewhere out there, a third teammate is waiting for him to pull the right ticket. He wonders who that person will turn out to be. Then for now he decides food is more urgent. He takes both summons out to eat, and Kosak, still riding the ego high from being an SSR, insists on Tech Bucky. Joyuk warns him he cannot eat spicy food. Kosak objects with fire in his eyes. He asks why Joyuk is being like this. He is an SSR now. Being a spice wimp is a thing of the past. Joyuk offers a dry good luck. 10 bowls of Tech Bucky land on the table, and Meatball dives in with his whole face. He says it is not spicy at all and just sweet. Kosak takes a delicate bite with the confidence of a rank-up rune behind him. He chews once, and then his entire face lights up red. Steam actually comes out of his ears. He slides off the chair and starts crawling across the floor with his tongue out. Meatball watches without expression and delivers his verdict. He says they should throw this guy away and summon a new person. Kosak gasps out a plea for water. Our boy sips his own drink and thinks it through. He has already cleared the 25th floor. At this rate, he really should tell his family. He shops on the way home and buys premium Korean beef. He walks into his parents' apartment shouting that their son bought beef. His younger brother Minhyuk immediately asks where the money came from. His mother Hong Gumja hears the price and demands to see the receipt right now. His father laughs everyone down and says that things have been chaotic lately, so just let their son take care of them and enjoy the meal together. Around the grill they warm up. Expensive stuff really does taste good, one of them mumbles happily. His mother pushes fruit at him because the men in this house love meat too much. His father sighs in relief that the lawsuit and the hospital and everything worked out. That is when the young man sets his chopsticks down and asks everyone not to be surprised and to just listen. He has awakened as a player and he is currently active in the tower. There is a beat of complete silence. Then his brother offers him a piece of fruit and tells him to just eat. His father laughs that he is joking with no prior warning at all. His mother asks if he is talking about a game or something. Juhyuk sits there watching his own family refuse to believe him. He understands right away that he cannot fix this with words alone, so he pulls out his phone and dials. He tells team leader Jun that this is Bong Juhyuk. He asks the team leader for help with the family situation. The next day, black cars roll up in front of a gleaming high-rise apartment building downtown. Juhyuk's father and mother and Minhyuk step out with him, all still half convinced this is some elaborate prank. Team leader Jun Gwangil greets them with a warm bow. His father tries one more time to make sense of it. He asks if Jun is really saying their Juhyuk actually awakened. Jun confirms it with all the professional gravity he can pack into his voice. He tells him that yes, that is absolutely correct. Their son is a precious talent of the nation. And he adds carefully that he is an elite player. An AMD staffer guides them into the lobby and says that player Bong is already waiting upstairs. A keycard taps against a private elevator sensor with a soft beep, and the elevator rises to a high floor. The doors open into a wide, sunlit apartment that smells like new furniture and fresh paint. Juhyuk is standing in the middle of the living room with his hands spread wide and the biggest grin of his life. He tells his family to please live here from now on. The pen moves across the last line of the contract, and our boy watches his own hand as though it belongs to someone else. The header reads Elite Player Contract Special Management Subject. Underneath, in printed lines, are his name, Bong Juhyuk, and his resident registration number and his address. Just a little while ago, he never once thought he would sign an elite contract. Now the paper is real, and the signature is real, and it hits him that life is truly unpredictable. The Awakening Management Department staff apologize almost immediately for being able to provide only an annual salary of 2 billion won. They explain that the starting rate for elite players is regulated. Ju-yuk sits there thinking that the word "only" in that sentence is suddenly paralyzing his entire sense of reality at 2 billion. The staffer even adds that someone like player Bong should really be receiving a much larger amount. The young man explains carefully that it was his own choice. He is not comfortable with it being officially revealed that he is the S++ record holder. The moment that happens, his personal information gets released too. If his face spreads through social media and mass media, it could become difficult for his own family to even step outside their door. Just imagining it is enough to make him shiver. That is why he admits quietly that he has not even told his family that he is the record holder. The staffer nods and moves on gently. He asks if the family liked the new house and if anything felt lacking. Ju-yuk waves both hands and insists it is more than enough for the family. He shows the man his phone where a message from Min-hyuk is sitting on the screen. His younger brother wrote that mom cried for the first time in his life when she saw the house. She never once lived somewhere this nice, and she was really glad. Ju-yuk thinks quietly to himself that things really cannot get better than this without him being greedy. The staffer then adds one more piece of news. The office tel where player Bong himself will live is also ready. It is fully furnished with appliances and furniture included, and he can move in immediately. Ju-hyuk asks in a small worried voice if they are really okay with a 21 Pyong-2 room. When our boy steps inside though, his eyes go wide and his shoulders lift with a soft wow. It is so clean and nice. To him it feels amazing. Meanwhile, across Seoul, an actual penthouse hums with a very different kind of energy. This is Yoo Chelmin, and he is South Korea's rank 1 player. His trait is all-weapon warrior. He wields every kind of weapon at maximum proficiency and holds a stack of area attack and lethal and ultimate skills. He is currently climbing the 66th floor of Korea's Black Tower, which is the highest floor anyone in the country has ever touched. Right now, he is not climbing anything. He is lounging bare-chested in a robe with beautiful women around him at a private bar. Glasses are clinking in a toast, and a single glass of the liquor he is pouring costs 5 million won. Glasses are clinking in a toast, and a single glass of the liquor he is pouring costs 5 million won. She then makes a mistake. She asks him, since he is the top player, whether he knows who has been setting all those consecutive S++ records on the 25th floor. Whenever people gather these days, she says that is all they talk about, and she is really curious. Yoo Chelmin's face darkens. He mutters that there is nothing great about a measly 25th floor, and he has no interest in some low-level person. She keeps pressing anyway and argues that a consecutive S++ record is a world first, and he should be at least a little curious that such a player exists in their country. Another woman senses the mood and whispers for her to stop. He answers coldly and tells her no to keep going. Then he tips his glass and pours the alcohol straight down the front of the woman who asked. She yelps in shock at the sudden cold. He leans in and calls her something nobody else in the room would dare say. He asks her if he stops clearing the 66th floor right now, what does she think happens? Right now the Black Tower is in the middle of nowhere in Gangwon-do. But what happens if the next one appears near a major city? South Korea will simply be utterly destroyed. He smashes the empty bottle. The other woman panics, and the first one, dripping in wine, stammers out an apology. She admits that the tower is collapsing because of him. Later alone, Yoo Chelmin sits slumped and disgusted with himself, muttering that he feels awful. He invited civilians instead of players because he was sick of hearing about S++, and yet everywhere he goes it is still all about S++. His mind drifts into the offers stacking up in his inbox. China contacted him again this month with an annual salary of 180 billion won, plus a mansion and caretakers and a private jet and treatment equivalent to a national leader. Japan came in even higher at 200 billion won a year, with a top-class mansion and 10 maids assigned to attend to whatever he wants. Meanwhile in Korea, he has been risking his life on the 66th floor for months, and the country is only talking about some newcomer who cracked the 25th. He calls them ungrateful, and asks himself if he should really just naturalize somewhere else. He starts laying out why. The 66th floor is horrifying. The 60s are the beginning of the undead section, and on the 66th floor creatures called specters appear. They look like ghosts, but it is a huge mistake to think they are the kind of undead people know from common fiction. Only those who have experienced the demonic energy know how terrible it really is. After one attempt, he has to rest for 3 days from the mental shock. Even with accessories and elixirs that resist dark aura, and even with light attribute tower reward weapons, he has barely made it out alive every time. Clearing the 66th floor will be difficult for a long while. Naturalization is on his mind, and he mutters to himself that he should really push for it now. The news screens in his penthouse fill with headlines about Korean society entering shock, and Korea being handed a death sentence, and Black Tower collapse countdowns. If Yu Chel-min suddenly naturalizes to a foreign country, chaos is guaranteed. The deadline for Korea's 66th floor clear has already passed the halfway mark. In about 3 months, notices will drop that the climb is sluggish and that the tower collapse countdown has been activated. The only hope for Korea would be Yu Chel-min, the top player, but there is a catch to that math. He grins a slow, ugly grin at his own reflection in the window. Even so, it is already too late because he will not be in Korea by then. He wants them to regret it and despair together at what happens next. Cut back to Bong Joon-hyuk's new office tel where the doorbell rings and a resident staffer politely delivers 10 pieces of fried chicken. The guy blushes and admits he ordered too much and apologizes for the trouble. Everything about this place is so comfortable because it is a building where players live together. Resident staff handle everything from office tel management to small errands. They drop off and pick up laundry and dispatch cleaners on request. Attached to the building is basically a full village of 3-meal restaurants and coffee shops and gyms and dry cleaners and karaoke rooms and even a swimming pool. Juyuk sighs happily and thinks that he should have moved in sooner. Kosak, sitting on the couch, is complaining to no one in particular that today is basic fried again. Juyuk explains cheerfully that the 26th death floor mission they just finished was to eliminate 20 swamp trolls. The 26th is known as a pretty tough mission because of the swamp environment, but thanks to Shadow Step, it was okay. He even caught one himself. He walks over with buckets of chicken and calls out to Meatball and Kosak to come get some. Meatball lights up, but Kosak does not even move a muscle. Our boy waves at his face and asks what he is watching to be so distracted. On the 100-inch TV, a girl group is dancing under bright lights and Kosak's soul is clearly no longer in his body. He breathes that a girl group on a 100-inch television is truly dazzling. Juyuk laughs and tells him he acknowledges the answer even without a real answer. Over chicken, Juyuk lays out the plan. Meatball, with grease on his chin, asks if they work on the 27th floor straight away tomorrow. Yes, and since they are at it, they will run straight through to the 29th. Kosak tilts his head and asks why only up to the 29th. Juyuk explains that they will do repeat clears for 10 days, and when the random summon cooldown is up, he plans to take on the 30th floor as a 4-person party. Meatball hoots at the news with a mouthful of chicken. He cheers about a new member. Kosak, standing off to the side, mutters something about losing his position as the summoner's safety and does not quite finish that thought. The next morning, the AMD staffer arrives at Juyuk's door with a package. He has brought the item player Bong requested. It is Volcano Orc leather armor which blocks cold and chills through the residual heat of its flame aura. The young man thanks the man for looking after him every time. The staffer only bows and answers that it is their job to provide support tailored to elite players' tower clears. Juyuk promises to use it well and return it, and the staffer wishes him luck on the 27th floor as well. Then the system window opens, entering Black Tower Korea floor 27. The floor unfolds around them as an ice-blasted mountain range notorious for its bitter cold. Juyuk, bundled in the volcano armor, laughs that it is not cold at all. He checks on Meatball, who is walking around bare-chested as usual, and asks if the warrior is not freezing. Meatball answers with total conviction that a warrior feels no cold. Kosak, on the other hand, is definitely freezing. Juyuk offers to take his hood off and give it to him. Kosak, with teeth chattering, insists there is no problem at all. The cold, he says, is nothing with magic power, and he can drive it away probably. Juyuk stares at him and thinks quietly that if Meatball only had brains, he should be the true SSR. Kosak mumbles that if he moves, it gets better. Then, in a sudden burst of purple aura and fresh energy, he snaps upright and shouts they should start hunting right away. Meatball, watching with mild concern, offers his diagnosis. He says that Kosak has gone berserk from the cold. Our boy chews a warm meat bun the staffer packed for him and decides he should catch at least one target too. He tells Meatball to follow quickly, and the barbarian nods. Then the system window ambushes him mid-step. The 27th floor mission has been completed and his level has increased. Juhyuk squeaks out that it is done already. Kosak has apparently cleared everything while Juhyuk was still savoring his snack. Rewards drop into the inventory in a stack. Mana stones 2.7 kilos and a tower exclusive equipment reward and another platinum badge for an S++ clear. He has not even warmed up, though he tells himself to move on anyway. Finally, an equipment item dropped for him too, and it is a weapon type. The reward reads Tower Exclusive Roland Kingdom Paladin Captain's Holy Sword. He holds it up in front of him, muttering that it is a two-handed sword. Then he pauses at what he is actually seeing. He mutters, "Wait and hold on for a second. Is this thing not a little too worn out?" He does not even know what is better about it compared to his current mace. He decides quietly to find out its disposal price later, and stashes it into inventory. Only after it settles into its slot does the system finally show the full description. Tower Exclusive Roland Kingdom Paladin Captain's Holy Sword. The effect is that when fighting against the undead, attack power and sacred fire and steadfast spirit and critical hit rate all increase. The limitation is that the effect does not apply to enemies other than undead and durability is low, so repair is required after use. The feature is that a faint radiance imbues both the user's sword and body. At the Awakening Management Department gym, where Kosak holds out the old sword to Meatball and asks if he wants to try using it. Meatball only shakes his massive head. A warrior, he insists, uses his fists. Our boy Juhyuk turns to Kosak and asks if he wants the sword instead, but Kosak politely refuses too. The gear he uses is wyvern leather armor and dwarven daggers, and he only deals with top-tier goods. Juhyuk sighs to himself and realizes that selling the sword at the player shop really is his only option. He mutters that going back to the shop is a hassle. Meatball chimes in that the sword is so old he does not even know if it will sell. Before letting it go, though, he wants to try swinging it once. Kosak cheerfully wishes him good luck. Meatball plants his feet and swings hard. Then he swings again. 2 swings and the big man is doubled over and gasping. His stamina drained after only 2 swings. Kosak claps his hands together and gushes that this is exactly what he would expect from Summoner Bong, and that it is absolutely amazing. Juhyuk squints and points out that Meatball could not even lift the thing properly, and just flailed around. Kosak calmly suggests he should know when to stop flattering. The young man waves it off and says that all things considered, physical abilities are limited outside the tower. He asks if there is any way at all to remove that limit. Kosak goes quiet for a beat and then says that it is possible. Juhyuk freezes. Kosak explains that if the boundary between the outside world and the tower disappears, and if the many towers scattered across Earth collapse, then this reality will become the same space as the tower. Every player's ability limit will be unlocked. He pauses and adds that this is also the very omen of impending doom. Juhyuk feels his blood run cold. Across the city at the Japanese embassy in Gwanghwamun, Seoul, a man in tinted glasses murmurs into his phone. He says that the rabbit wants to leave his old nest and move to a new one, and that this is very good news. The voice on the other end warns that the counselor will have to bring him over personally because the wolves are watching the rabbit closely. This is Counselor Tomo of the Japanese embassy in Korea. Tomo tells the caller not to worry and that he will handle it well. A typhoon, he thinks to himself, is about to hit. 2 days later, Juhyuk is back inside the Black Tower. A blue status window floats before him, listing his current progress. 65th floor cleared. 66th floor is next, with a deadline of 92 days, 13 hours and change. The guy shakes his head at the numbers and admits that Kosak's talk about impending doom has him a little rattled. Still, he reasons that clearing the highest floors has always been the job of top-tier players like Yu Chelman. Worrying will solve nothing. He just needs to keep climbing at his own pace, exactly the way he has been. Safety first and safety again. He decides that today is the day he clears the 29th floor. He thinks back on how yesterday's 28th floor was a real headache. The jungle trolls kept dropping down out of giant trees to attack. He admits to himself that an S++ clear would have been rough with only Kosak on his side, but with Meatball on the team, the numbers work. He wonders how the big guy actually handled those enormous trees. He recalls Meatball charging in as trolls fell around him, and Kosak darting through the chaos with clean dagger finishes. Juhyuk mulls that if Meatball were just a bit smarter, he would honestly be a real SSR. Then the smile fades. Juhyuk warns himself that today's 29th floor is not going to end clean. The boss here is the Plague Troll, and even the name sounds filthy. These are creatures that wander around dripping yellow pus and discharge everywhere. There are recorded cases of players who genuinely got sick during the clear. He decides to prepare thoroughly. He calls up the summon window and designates John Kosak and Dull Barbarian Meatshield. Kosak materializes and declares loyalty, ready to serve. Meatball announces that he has also arrived. Juhyuk winces and tells him to stop calling himself our Meatball. They enter the 29th floor. The mission window flashes on with the order to defeat 20 plague trolls within 4 hours. Juhyuk asks his summons if they are really okay without masks. Kosak proudly declares that a warrior does not get sick. Meatball insists he is SSR and adds that a mask makes it hard to breathe and to move, so he will just accept the thought. Our boy gives up and says fine, whatever. Thanks to 2 teammates who genuinely do not care about diseases, the hunting speed feels even faster than yesterday. The mission clears. Level up. The reward is 1 mana stone weighing 2.9 kilograms. A second notice pops up announcing an S++ rank clear for the 29th floor and awarding a platinum badge. Meatball's face lights up and he asks if they are having a team dinner tonight too. Juhyuk winces and tells him he is really sorry. Kosak blinks and asks why he is apologizing. Juhyuk simply says the word unsummon. Both summons vanish mid-sentence. Alone in the quiet, our boy delivers a small guilty monologue to himself. He is a traitor and a vicious employer. Curse him all they want, but he cannot bring his sticky plague-covered teammates home to the family's new house. Does that little bird flying overhead understand the ache in his heart? The next morning over at the Awakening Management Department gym, a barbell drops with a heavy thud. This is Namgeun, and she is Korea's rank 2 player. Her trait is Swordswoman. She is currently climbing the 62nd floor of the Black Tower. Gun mulls over the dark zombie that guards the 62nd floor. It is a monster whose dark aura seeps into a player and corrupts them during combat. As things stand now, she does not see a path to victory. She sits down on a bench and asks herself if the 62nd floor is really her limit. Then she straightens up. Even if it is, she tells herself that as long as she walks the path of an elite player, she has to keep pushing until her body breaks. She chugs a protein shake and flexes at the mirror and cheers herself on. Out in the hallway, a crowd of staff rushes past her. Gun spots a familiar face and calls out to Mina. Team leader Lee Mina apologizes, but says she is very busy right now. Gun asks where everyone is running off to and if an accident has happened. Mina asks if she has not seen the news yet. Gun's face darkens. On a wall of screens, an emergency press conference is playing live. Yoo Chul-min, standing at a podium, tells the country that Korea's Awakening Management Department only focuses on politics and has neglected the operation of the elite team. The future of the Republic of Korea looked grim, and therefore Yoo Chul-min will leave Korea as of today and be active as a Japanese player. Elsewhere in the same building, our boy Juhyuk's jaw drops. Yoo Chul-min is naturalizing to Japan? Their country's rank 1 player? Across from him, team leader Jung Kwang-il nods heavily and confirms it. He explains that the reason the department urgently invited player Bong today is precisely because of this. Juhyuk swallows and asks a nervous question. By any chance, how long would it take him to climb to the 60th floor? In his head, he thinks that he knew this was coming the moment they called him in so suddenly. He runs the math out loud. He is currently on the 29th floor. Assuming he clears every uncleared upper floor every single day, it would take him roughly 37 days to reach the 66th floor. The deadline for clearing the 66th floor of the Black Tower is about 90 days away. Simply glancing at the numbers, one might think it is possible. But it would be difficult to do within 90 days. He adds that whenever he hits a difficult section, he spends at least 10 days preparing before climbing. And the contract clause explicitly states that climbing the upper floors is left solely to his own decision. The team leader lowers his head and apologizes. It has not been long since the contract was signed, and he has no face to ask such a favor. But the department is desperate enough to clutch at straws. Juhyuk waves his hands and pleads with the man not to make such a sad face because it weakens his resolve. Still, he says with an apologetic smile that what cannot be done cannot be done. He cannot make a promise he cannot guarantee. Right at that moment, a bright voice calls out from the door. Jun turns and greets her as player Namgaeun. Gain steps in explaining she heard from team leader Ilimina and asks if the US said they would lend Korea light attribute items. The team leader admits they have not received a definite answer yet. He adds that right now the global supply of light attribute items is nearly impossible to procure. Gain apologizes for barging in and says she was just so anxious. The team leader glances toward Juyuk and remarks that she has a guest. Gain turns and sees a shy young man sitting there. Her eyes go wide. The young man turns bright red and stammers. He blurts out that he came to sell some items. Gain deflates into a small ah. The team leader nods approvingly and mentions that come to think of it, Juyuk obtained something similar a while ago. It looks like they are lacking light attribute items. Would he like to try using this? He produces a sword. Someone told him the team leader says that it is a superior version of light attribute items. Gain's head snaps around. She asks if she may check it for a moment. The team leader tells her to please feel free to look. Gain lifts the blade and reads the description. Tower exclusive Roland Holy Kingdom Paladin Captain's Holy Sword. When fighting against the undead, attack power and sacred fire and steadfast spirit and critical hit rate all increase. The effect does not apply to enemies other than the undead, and durability is low, so the weapon requires repair after use. Its feature is a faint radiance that imbues the user's sword and body during combat. Gain's eyes fly open. She reads out loud about increased attack power against undead and increased critical hit rate. Her voice cracks. She says it is impossible. She has never even heard of such effects. The team leader jumps as Gain suddenly drops to her knees in front of Juyuk. He calls out her name in alarm. Gain looks up at our boy with desperate, glittering eyes. This sword, she begs. Just once. Please lend it to her. Her voice breaks. Please. She will do anything. Inside Juyuk's own imagination, a wedding of impossible beauty stretches out before him. Rose petals rain down the aisle. Namgaeun stands at the altar in a flowing white gown, while Bong Juyuk waits beside her in a tuxedo. The daydream flows into a tropical honeymoon beach and then into fireworks bursting over a night skyline. Gaeus turns to him with sparkles in her eyes and asks if they are going to make a honeymoon baby. Juyuk giggles that oh my, he does not know. Gaeus asks what they should name the child. Our boy considers the question with complete seriousness and offers the name Bong Holy Sword. Gaeus laughs and asks what kind of name that is. She coos that her Gaeus is so funny. She leans in and murmurs his name and tells him to stop joking and come here. She says she is going to kiss him. Her voice softens as she keeps calling his name. Then someone snaps it into his ear sharply. Player Bong. Reality slams back into place. Juyuk jerks upright. None of it was real. In front of him, the actual Namgaeun is bouncing with barely contained joy and a bright sunflower halo of excitement around her. She asks him to confirm it. Just now he really said he was going to lend her this holy sword, right? The young man realizes he had spiraled into a daydream without noticing. He recovers and stammers that yes, of course he should lend it to her. She should just use it and let him know if the performance is any good. Gae's eyes fill with tears of gratitude and she thanks him from the bottom of her heart. If player Bong ever needs help later on, she says he should tell her any time. She will do anything. Then she is already gathering her gear and declaring she is going to go clear the 62nd floor right this second. Juyuk waves and tells her to come back safely. The team leader watches her run off and then turns to Juyuk with a thoughtful frown. He asks if it would be useful to have a positive review of the sword so it sells for a better price. Juyuk shrugs it off. He was planning to just get rid of the thing anyway, so there is no need to be greedy. Team leader Jun Guangil nods and mutters that honestly, how much could such an old sword even be worth? Inside the tower, a status window unfolds in front of Namgaeun, entering Black Tower Korea 62nd floor. Physical abilities have increased according to level. Traits and combat skills are available for use. The mission is to defeat 20 dark zombies within 15 hours. Failure condition is death or mission abandonment. Gan steps forward and the air itself feels wrong. Something that should not be alive is standing in front of her. Undead. She grips her sword and pushes back a shiver. The disgusting energy that makes her body scream at her to run away has not changed. She activates the holy sword's white radiance. The blade lights up. Gain's face falls a little. The light is dimmer than she expected. The radiance of the light attribute item she has been supported with in the past might actually have been brighter. She wonders quietly if this is really going to be enough. Then she steels herself. She has no choice but to try. To face the enemy without running away, she reminds herself, is a player's destiny. She charges. The dark zombie's aura sweeps in and slams her chest. Gayan grunts. Her body feels heavy. She hisses that if this changes nothing, she is in real trouble. Then a status window blinks in front of her eyes. Holy Sword effect, Steadfast Mind activates. The suffocating pressure drops off her shoulders. Her blade blazes brighter. She stares at the light and asks what this is. The zombie snarls at her. Her sword answers. Critical damage inflicted on the dark zombie. She swings again. Critical damage. Again. Critical damage. The zombie explodes in a burst of golden light. A notice pops up. Dark zombie defeated 1 of 20. Gayan blinks at the corpse and blinks at her sword and then blinks at the sky. She murmurs that this was this easy. Back at the department, team leader Jun Gwang-il is checking his watch. It has already been 2 hours since Namgaeun entered the 62nd floor. When she fails a clear, she usually returns around this time. He drops his head into his hands and wonders how she is going to fare this go. The portal flashes open. His head snaps up. She is back. Gwang-il calls out to her, welcoming her back with worried cheer. Gayan holds up a hand and asks him to give her a moment because she needs to drink a healing potion. He watches her drain it, and his face falls. She could not possibly have cleared it that fast, so did she abandon the mission? Is even the holy sword not enough? Gayan exhales a long breath and lowers the bottle. Gwang-il forces a smile and tells her he is just glad she returned safely. The guy steps up beside them and asks carefully how it went. Was the holy sword somewhat useful? If it was not any good, she can be honest with him. Without warning, Gayan lunges forward and throws her arms around him. Ju-yuk short-circuits. He squeaks a very undignified sound. Gayan herself jumps, apparently realizing she is being far too aggressive. She stammers that no and why. Ju-hyuk splutters that being this aggressive is a little troubling, honestly. Inside his skull, delusion mode has already engaged. He is now mentally attending his future child's elementary school entrance briefing. Gayan, sniffling, tells him thank you so much. If it were not for the holy sword he lent her, she definitely would have failed. Ju-hyuk lights up. He starts to ask what that means. Gayan beams and announces that the 62nd floor clear was a success. She then snaps out of her own moment and blushes. She mutters to herself that she zoned out again. Of course, she adds hastily, she will have to try it more times to know for sure, but it does perform very well. Our boy's heart soars. If the holy sword works this well, he thinks, then even the 66th floor might be possible with it. Yes, that is a real relief. On the other hand, he thinks darkly that if he had brought the holy sword in a little earlier and it had fallen into the hands of Yu Chelman instead, just imagining it makes his stomach turn. He pictures Chelman walking off with that smug smirk and a news banner below him reading that Yu Chelman has swallowed all support items from the management department and headed to Japan. Ju-yuk shakes it off. It would have been truly terrible. The team leader is now watching Ju-yuk with fresh appreciation. He thinks that the more he gets to know this man named Bong Ju-yuk, the more fascinating he becomes. From S++ clear records to items like this. He catches himself and hastily apologizes for zoning out. He says he was just so happy. Then he asks aloud if it is even possible for one person to perform this well alone. Gain cuts back in and reports that she used the sword very well, but the blade is damaged in several places. Gwang-il hums. He points out that it was already a mess to begin with. Ju-yuk sighs and figures he will just have to use it a few more times and throw it away. Gwang-il waves a hand and tells him it is fine. There are many skilled craftsmen in the player shop workshop. If they ask around, the sword should stay usable for quite a while with repairs. The young man's face lights up. He asks nervously if the repair cost will be high. Gwang-il tells him of course the management department will cover it. Then the team leader leans forward with a look that is suddenly all business. He asks how about just selling the sword to him while they are at it. Ju-hyuk will need it if he is going to continue clearing the 60th floors. Ju-hyuk hums and after a moment says that in his opinion it would be better not to sell this sword. In his head, he assumes Guang-il has lost interest in buying and thinks with a private twinge that is a shame. Instead, Guang-il says they will rent it. Keeping ownership of the sword will be much more financially beneficial for Ju-hyuk. In his head, he assumes Guang-il has lost interest in buying and thinks with a private twinge that is a shame. Instead, Guang-il says they will rent it. Keeping ownership of the sword will be much more financially beneficial for Ju-hyuk. Because besides Korea, there are hundreds of towers all over the world. Not many countries have entered the 60th floors yet, but they will keep pushing up. And when they do, Ju-hyuk will lend the sword to those countries for 10 billion won per use. Ju-hyuk's eyes go completely blank. Kwang-il continues that it is definitely worth trying according to the management department statistics. He pauses and asks softly if there is any part Ju-hyuk does not like, and to please feel free to tell him anytime. Ju-hyuk's face splits open into the widest grin of his life. He says that is way too good. A rental business is pure profit. Gwang-il says then the management department will handle the Holy Sword rental procedures on Ju-hyuk's behalf. Ju-hyuk bows and tells him he would deeply appreciate that. Gwang-il adds that he will rent the sword from the department for 1 billion won up front. He privately notes that this time is free of charge, starting from the 63rd floor. Ju-hyuk protests that no, he does not have to do that. Kwang-il waves him off, saying Ju-hyuk will be raking in cash from other countries in the future, so just advertise it well to the whole world. Ju-hyuk stammers, "Thank you and thank you so much." That evening in the family kitchen, a pot of balsam bubbles on the stove. Our boy stares at it in a daze. 10 billion won for lending it once. It does not feel real. As he slices the pork belly, he mutters to himself that you could say Holy Sword Lord ranks above landlord. An item he was about to throw away has become a gold mine, seriously. He lays out a heaping tray of piping hot balsam and announces to his team that today they eat plenty. Kosak marvels that Summoner Bong personally cooked for him and adds that no summoner has ever treated him this well. Meatball declares he will eat well. Ju-hyuk waves them on with a beaming face and tells them to eat a lot. A satisfied smile spreads across his face. Thanks to them, he says warmly, our boy is now rich. That same evening, breaking news explodes across every media outlet in Korea. 62nd floor clear successful and bodycam footage released. The basis for the clear declaration is revealed as a holy sword with divine attribute. Player Nam Gaeun emerges as a new alternative and shows confidence for the 65th floor clear. Another anchor asks with a raised eyebrow who Yu Chelman even is and says he does not even remember. And just like that, thanks to Ju-hyuk's performance, Korea's crisis has been turned into an opportunity. 10 days later, Ju-hyuk has spent the past 10 days doing nothing but repeating 29th floor clears and hunting plague trolls and waiting, and now at last the awaited random summon cooldown has returned. He treats the prep seriously. He scrubs himself diligently at the bathhouse. He trims his fingernails and toenails. He changes into new clothes. He completely empties his stomach by fasting since yesterday. Then he sits cross-legged and meditates and silently whines that he is freaking hungry and can they just finish and eat already. Lastly, he sets out the purified water. Since water purifier water is technically purified water, a status window blinks in front of him. Random summon cooldown is at 0 days 0 hours 29 minutes 16 seconds remaining. Ju-hyuk clasps his hands and prays. He prays and prays. Please LSSR, only LSSR. Definitely legend special super rare. Behind him, Kosak tells him not to worry too much because it will turn out well. Surely another guy like Meatball will not come out. Ju-hyuk hushes him urgently. He blinks and asks what is wrong with Meatball. Ju-hyuk points out that thanks to him they cleared so many floors with S++. Kosak recovers quickly and mumbles that no, that is not what he meant and he just wanted to reassure Summoner Bong. Ju-hyuk turns to look. Meatball is flexing his massive arms and grinning and delighted with himself. Kosak's eye twitches. He hisses at Meatball to smile like that one more time and see what happens. Ju-hyuk shakes himself back into focus. Focus, focus. It is time. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Random summon. He clasps his hands to his forehead and begs for a good grade. A pillar of light erupts upward. From the center, a delicate hand reaches out, followed by a graceful bow. A soft feminine voice thanks him for summoning her. She lowers herself into a formal seated bow with robes flowing around her. She says that this maiden Gyeondaler humbly offers her greetings to young Master Bong. A system window unfurls beside her. Name Gyeondaler, grade unknown, type unknown. The pillar of light finishes its work. A soft feminine voice thanks Juhyuk for summoning her. The maiden lowers herself into a formal bow with robes flowing around her. She introduces herself as Gyeondaler and humbly offers her greetings to young Master Bong. A system window unfurls beside her. Name Gyeondaler, grade SSR special super rare, type shaman human. Behind our boy Juhyuk, Kosak and Meatball are frozen. Kosak whispers that it is a woman. Juhyu whispers back that it is a woman. Kosak asks what they should do. Juhyu asks what they should do. Before the awkward loop can continue, Gyeondaler rises and draws a curved ceremonial dagger with strings of small brass bells attached. She holds it forward with both hands blade high. She declares that although she is lacking, this maiden shall pour forth all her strength in order to assist young Master Bong. Juhyuk stares at the dagger and bells and mouths the word shaman. A shaman? A shaman? He must have stared a little too long because Gyeondaler's soft face snaps into stone. She hisses. She demands to know how dare he look over a maiden's body with such lecherous eyes. He will only come to his senses after receiving a severe beating. Juhyuk sputters that no wait, he was only looking because he was amazed. She thunders at him to be silent and asks how dare he spew such falsehoods. She warns him in advance. If he harbors wicked thoughts upon seeing her beauty, he will not escape divine punishment. The young man begs her excuse and turns away sweating. Internally, he groans that a young master should be allowed to look as much as he wishes and sit comfortably and enjoy. Why do his summons never have a single normal one among them? Then he catches himself. Still, she is SSR grade. Her catalog reads that she is the strict, solemn, and serious chief shaman of the Qian Empire Imperial Shrine. Manifestation duration is 5 hours. Resummon cooldown is 3 hours beginning once unsummon is activated. This is a completely amazing pick. She is on the same level as an upgraded Kosak. Then he squints and asks himself if a hierarchy forms even between SSRs because Kosak is currently trying very hard not to make eye contact with her. That charisma of hers is no joke. Juhyuk wonders quietly if leaving out purified water and begging really made a difference on this summon. Juhyuk wonders quietly if leaving out purified water and begging really made a difference on this summon. Then he activates the memory dive. He steps into the memories of his new summon. The memory realm blooms around him with ancient palaces and red banners and deep chime tones. ES and red banners and deep chime tones. A young girl walks the halls in shaman robes, text scrolls in front of him. Gyeondaler is the daughter of Emperor Muljong of the Qian Empire. Since childhood, the princess held a keen interest in the state religion of shamanism, and she became a shaman of the Imperial Shrine. Upon the death of her father, Emperor Muljong, her young brother succeeded to the throne and ascended as emperor. But soon after he was murdered by their uncle, who then usurped the throne. A death for a death. Enraged, Gyeondaler vowed a blood revenge and performed a death curse ritual. The uncle, aware of her power, installed all sorts of magical arrays throughout the palace and prepared a scapegoat to take the death curse in his place. He used every power at his disposal to prepare for his niece's vengeance. But Gyeondaler had served the Qian Empire's chief shaman as her master, since she was a child, and this made her the greatest shaman of her time. Her power was unstoppable. However, unlawfully sending a death curse for a personal grudge was an act against heavenly law. She succeeded in her revenge, but as the curse she cast rebounded back onto her, it brought her short life to an end as well. Juhyuk lowers his gaze. So this is the reason for her charisma and her strict, solemn, serious personality. It does not match her appearance at all, but after looking at her past life, he understands. Our boy returns from the memory. He tells Gyeondaler he has something to ask. She lowers her head and says she is deeply honored, young master. She tells him not to mind anything and to please ask whatever he wishes. Juhyuk asks what the name of the person who founded the Chun Empire was. Gyeondaler replies that it was great Emperor Genhwan who defeated the wicked Wang and Kim clans and expanded his territory to the lands of the old Goguryeo and changed the name of the nation from Paekje to Chunje. Juhyuk stiffens. The same Genhwan who founded later Paekje? She says indeed. Juhyuk's brain briefly reboots. A parallel universe. In Gendal Laz world, it was later Paekje, not Goryeo, that unified the later three kingdoms. Kosak had mentioned once that he had operated in a place similar to modern Earth with his previous summoner. Juhyuk listens further and confirms that the history before the Qian Empire is identical to the history he knows. So this world diverged from the later Three Kingdoms period. Kosak, listening in, mutters that it is fascinating and that certainly being a former princess, her charisma is no joke. Juhyuk realizes he has been fasting since yesterday for the summon. He tells the team that since they are all gathered here, would everyone like to eat some ramen? Kosak says sounds good and mild flavor would be nice. Meatball declares he also eats ramen. The guy turns to Gyendalre and asks what about her. She replies with perfect posture that being picky about food is against etiquette. Kosak chimes in that the ramen cooked by Summoner Bong is the most delicious. Meatball says he is already touched. Juhyuk waves them off and says just wait a little because he will cook right away. He turns to fetch the big pot. Gyendalre's face darkens. She growls at Kosak and Meatball. Despite being mere summons, they act so arrogantly. They deserve. How can they leave the young master to prepare the food himself? She orders them to get up at once. Kosak and Meatball both scramble upright with a jolt. Kosak tries to argue and says that it is a bit much to use informal speech between fellow SSRs. Gyendalre laughs a cold laugh and says now she sees he is but a fool who does not know his place. She had been planning to try and persuade him with words if possible, but it seems she will have to cast a curse upon him to bring him to his senses. Kosak goes white. He does not want a curse. He says wait a minute and that he will prepare the ramen right away. She turns her cold glare on Meatball too and calls him a big oaf. Juhyuk watches from the sidelines and observes to himself that even guys who face death without fear seem to have something they are afraid of. After the ramen, Juhyuk asks Dalre if she would like to go into the tower together after they eat. Gyendalre bows and declares that this maiden will serve him with all her loyalty. He just needs to give the command. Juhyuk beams and says, okay, sounds good. The portal opens. Entering the 30th floor of the South Korean Black Tower, they land in a shadowy forest. Our boy mulls to himself that maybe there is actually a good thing about Dalre being here. Since Kosak cannot do certain finishing moves, maybe now with her help things will be different. Before he can finish the thought, Kosak cuts in sharply and tells him to please stay right there. Then he barks at nobody in particular that they have no manners. He reassures Juhyuk to please hunt as much as he wants. Juhyuk cocks his head and asks if he should maybe kill around 10 of them for now. Gyendalre claps her hands together and asks if everyone is ready. Kosak raises his daggers and shouts that safety first and he will sweep them all away. Meatball roars that he will do everything and will protect Summoner Bong even if he dies. Gyendalre smiles for the first time. Juhyuk blinks. She admits that she had thought they were lowly ones who did not even know etiquette, but it seems they have a proper mindset after all. The young man internally notes that the hierarchy has apparently been sorted out already. The mission window blinks up. 30th floor mission is to defeat 80 trolls of any type and 1 twin-head troll within 13 hours. The trolls stomp into view through the trees. Juhyuk narrows his eyes and wonders quietly to himself how a shaman even participates in combat. Looking at her past life, he assumes it is probably going to be a curse type. Is she going to send a death curse at the monsters? He watches as she reaches into her robes and pulls something out. His eyes fly open. A portable speaker? Gyendalre explains gravely that she is ashamed, but originally a master drummer is needed to play the drum for this ritual. However, since this maiden travels alone, she has prepared this as a desperate measure. Juhyuk waves both hands and tells her to do whatever makes her comfortable. She nods and says, then she shall begin. She thumbs the play button. The speaker crackles to life with the deep boom of a shaman's drum and the shimmer of ringing bells. Gyendalre raises her voice above the sound and calls out that, as the protection of the spirits of heaven and earth is with young Master Bong, all evil things should be gone. A shamanic ritual inside the Black Tower. Her power spreads throughout the entire area. Juhyuk watches with his jaw hanging open. Ripples of spirit energy sweep through the forest. Meatball roars and his body starts growing bigger. His skin hardens and surging power fills him. Kosak yells that this is incredible and this is awesome. He dives into the trolls with senses so sharp he seems to see 3 moves ahead. The trolls themselves have visibly slowed down as if the air has thickened around them. Juhyuk stammers that he thought she was a curse character. She can buff too? Buffs on his side and debuffs on the enemy all at once. He has never heard of anything like this anywhere. Then his own body starts to feel light. His fighting spirit boils over. He cannot hold back. He feels like he can accomplish anything right now. He raises his weapon and roars that here he comes. He plants a 2-handed thrust into the nearest troll. Then he pauses in the middle of the follow-through. His posture shifts. Something is off. Gyandalwer has drifted up beside him and gently declares that she believes fighting is best left to the underlings. The young master should just watch comfortably. Juhyuk gets a very bad feeling about this. He tells her he was just going to catch a few and get out. She grips his shirt from behind. She asks sweetly how can he try to stand shoulder to shoulder with such lowly things. He begs her to please let go. He argues that he is lowly too. He is a coward. Gyandalwer calmly informs him that that is absolutely absurd. Our boy realizes he might not be able to catch anything again at this rate. He barks that this is an order and to hurry and let go of his shirt now. She simply does not, and he wails that he cannot get free. He groans that it is going to end just like this. Please let him get at least one. But the notices are already popping. All types of trolls 80 of 80. Twin head troll 1 of 1. Mission successfully completed. Level has increased. Juhyuk drops to his knees and howls that he could not catch a single one again this time. Gyandal the lad shrinks back with her eyes going wide. She stammers that no young master and so the guy grumbles to himself that whether she shouted at him or not he should have just shaken her off and gone. A chime of bells. He looks up. Gyandal the lad is crying. Big glassy tears roll down her cheeks. Our boy's brain locks up. She is crying?